Welcome back, everybody, to the Netherkast. I am Cyborg, and I am joined always by Temp, Razor, and Shad. And if you are not familiar with what we do, this is a Mortal Kombat podcast that we've been doing for over 8 years now. Started in 2014, leading into Mortal Kombat X. So there's an entire backlog of us leading into Mortal Kombat X, Injustice 2, and Mortal Kombat 11, and all sorts of other random stuff that we've done over the years. So definitely check us out. If you haven't, go check out all those old episodes. There's a lot of fun craziness in there, and we're going to be doing a follow-up episode right now where we are going to be delivering like we're a damn pizza delivery. I don't know what the hell I'm saying.
Or doctors with a baby.
This is why I need
Pizza's
like
good.
a script or something. I just start rambling. But yeah, so we're going to be giving our Mortal Kombat 12 predictions. We each have a few to list off here, and then we can come back on a later day and see how we did, much like we're going to be doing now with our predictions leading into Mortal Kombat 11. So I will let everybody know who said what, and then we'll see who got anything right. So that being said, and also, if you are new to us, definitely check out our Discord. It's in the description. We'd love to have you as a part of our community. So go check that out as well. Constantly talking Mortal Kombat and all things otherwise every day. But we will start off. So before E3 in 2018, we all thought Mortal Kombat 11 was going to be revealed because that was just kind of their standard, cycle that they would do back then. Leading MK9 ahead of E3 was announced and then shown off at E3. Same with MKX. I don't remember if that's how it was at Injustice or not, but yeah, they were on a pattern there for several years. That's how they would do it. But MK11 threw a bit of a curveball, so it ended up not getting shown off until the Video Game Awards that December. But we gave our predictions basically leading into E3 of what we expected from that initial trailer as well as the gameplay reveal that might have been at E3. So here's what everybody said. We each gave 5 things. I said, Cyborg, said there would be at least one 3D era character would be shown off in the reveal, basically as a, just kind of get them out there. I mean, that's kind of what we're always saying is we thought there'd be more 3D era presence, and that's what I was thinking there. I figured tag team would be included. A lot of us were talking about tag team going into MK11. Would they bring it back? Would they not? Before we knew what that game's gimmick was going to be and all that. A lot of people were asking for tag team back, and alas, it was not included. The main gimmick of the trailer will be featured in the trailer. Or I guess the main gimmick of the game will be featured in the trailer. Kind of like how MKX had like the environmental stuff, them interacting with the environment. So I figured the main gimmick of the game would be featured in the trailer. Now, for MK11, what was the gimmick? I can't even... Was it just custom moves, gear?
Arguably, weapons and crushing blows might be in that category.
I'm going to agree with that.
Okay, was crushing blows in the trailer? I can't even remember.
The original CGI cutscene reveal trailer was
Raiden and Scorpion.
Raiden and Scorpion, and then the other Scorpion, and it basically showed off crushing blows and arena interactives.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of got that one right. Not really a very bold prediction because that seems to be a trend for them now. And in my fourth one was in the first reveal trailer, either Sub-Zero or Scorpion will not be shown and save for a later reveal. So got that right. They didn't have Sub-Zero this time fighting Scorpion. It was Raiden and Scorpion, and they saved Sub-Zero for the gameplay reveal. And then number 5, there will be 8 characters in the gameplay reveal because we're going to have a 30 to 32 characters on the base roster. You can always dream, can't you? we're always overshooting the roster to some degree, and then we're hit with that 25 every single time. So that's pretty much a trend of the community.
If they stop making extra moves and move sets for like multiple ones for the same character, they could fit more characters.
Right. And then I added on to that basically with the roster, we're gonna specifically with the 8 characters in the gameplay reveal, we were gonna get a lot of variety in the characters shown in the reveal, such as a trilogy representative, a 3D era, NRS era character, that people, have been really asking for, stuff like that. Basically, those characters chosen for that initial gameplay reveal were going to please everybody. There's going to be something for everybody, is how I put it. Now, who did they show off in the gameplay reveal? I'm trying to remember. They had Baraka, Scarlet, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden.
Was Geras there?
Geras?
They definitely showed a trailer of Geras. Was he playable?
Gosh, I don't even remember. So
I know he was playable at the event. I don't know if he was actually in like the trailer with Scarlet's reveal though. That's what I can't remember.
No, he had his own separate reveal trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Huh.
And they teased Cabal, but they didn't actually show him.
Yeah, he was their first like actual announcement.
Yeah,
that they didn't
there
show.
was
I
a
remember
little
that.
like they showed an animation of him dashing across the screen.
But yeah, so maybe that wasn't. Oh, they did have Sonya, so they had Sonya, so that's 6.
Oh yeah, of course.
Rhonda, Johnny, I would assume. No, Johnny didn't come till later. Yeah, I remember we all reacted to that. So okay, so 6. So was it just the 6? That sounds probably right. It was probably just the 6 characters, and there was no 3D era representative like I thought there would be. There was an NRS era, like a Scarlet. Scarlet was the big, surprise character there.
Sonya, Raiden, Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Scarlet, Baraka. I think that was it that was actually playable.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that one wasn't quite right either. I definitely didn't get the 3D era representative like I thought we would.
Oh.
And then
But it was 6. It was 6 characters.
Yeah, well, I guessed 8. So.
Well, because if it's just shown, then Cabal and.
Well, I said in the gameplay reveal,
Oh,
so I'm not even gonna give myself that credit. So, basically, I think I only got 1 or 2 out of the 5, and those were the more safe ones. So let's jump to Temp here. Temp said Fujin's gonna be in the reveal as an apology. That didn't happen, sadly.
I mean, we did eventually get there, just not in the reveal.
Yeah.
It wasn't an apology so much as a capitulation.
It was also a late apology. He didn't get him till DLC.
I feel like it was a fine. We did it. Now shut up and leave us alone.
Yeah.
I'll give myself partial credit on that one. I feel pretty good about that one.
And Fujin's ultimate inclusion saved somebody from eating like a hat or a newspaper or something, right?
I think
it
might have been.
I believe it was a shoe. I think I was going to eat. I
believe it was a shoe. Yes, there was definitely talk of eating a shoe.
I have mentioned newspapers as well. I eat newspapers and shoes.
I'm pretty sure that it was a shoe.
Alrighty.
Their joke running to that somehow.
Number 2, Temp said it's going to be a lot more colorful, less grays. So we ended up getting. He was right on that. No MKX visuals. It was definitely more colorful, like MK9. And his logic was they never like to make the same game twice, and they usually try to mix it up in between games. So I mean, it was solid there, and thank God, because MK11 was at least good looking. Number 3, no brand new characters in the reveal. So I think that was accurate. I don't think Garrus was in that original reveal trailer.
I mean, again,
the gameplay. Or this was before. No, this isn't even relating to the gameplay reveal. This is the actual.
They showed that trailer and then all the other character stuff all at the same event. So we got multiple trailers on the same day. So what does and doesn't count?
I think in
it's
general,
also a question of Chronica. Does she count or not? Might be another point.
Yeah, true. Anyways,
you could argue she doesn't. She's not playable, but it just it's.
I mean, there were no new characters in the playable demo, so.
Right. Number 4, no returning beards, only new beards. You were very on a kick.
Sub-Zero and Scorpion's beards mostly returned. Like Subs was all patchy and gross now.
Yeah, he looks like the side character from Tremors. I can never remember his name, but yeah.
Bert.
No. He's the other guy, Kevin Bacon.
Oh, not Kevin Bacon. Yeah, not Kevin Bacon. Whatever.
What was that character's name? Fuck.
He's the main character in Tremors 2, which is a very underrated
he's
movie.
the one who comes back in the sequel.
Yeah, and he's actually a good actor overall. He's good stuff. We just
there's plenty of compliments. We just can't remember him.
I want to say Shane because he kind of looks like fucking the Punisher.
Maybe, yeah.
But he's not.
That
So
one
you weren't-
fucking guy, you know the one.
You weren't quite right on the no returning beards. Only new
Yeah,
beards.
I'm going to take that L.
And then your number 5 here is Temp will love the trailer and he'll be hella hyped for this game.
I made that prediction?
Yeah, you did. Sorry, I put
would
Temp
say
there
that's
just to be
partially true, at
clear.
least, Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I was fairly positive of the idea of having like a very neutral heavy Mortal Kombat without all the 50-50s and like
Just
all
the
the
way
color.
you were so shocked by the fact that you would say that as like, Temp, I don't know how to break this to you, but you were once a Mortal Kombat fan.
It's like a scene out of Memento. Yeah, it's crazy.
I said that something I was looking forward to it. Weird. And then you also threw this out, which wasn't part of your prediction, but you did say that the Dark Raiden part of the game is just going to be quickly wrapped up at the start of the game. So that was kind of funny.
Wow, you nailed that one.
That was dead on the money.
Yeah, and I don't remember saying that, but I can believe I said that because I did not think they were going to do a Dark Raiden arc. I just didn't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but that was your point is you were making is that you could easily see that happening, and sure enough, that is what ended up happening.
Checks out.
For Razor, we have his number 1 was 2 characters will be fighting in a cinematic trailer, and they will look rubbery, and people will complain about the music.
You know, I was half right. I
don't
was
think they look
surprised because
rubbery.
see, that's the thing. 11 was the first time they did a reveal trailer where I actually thought the characters looked good in the FMV graphics.
Right.
Actually were up to snuff. Like they didn't look rubbery. But people did complain about the music, so I got that.
Yep.
What the hell did they actually use? Was it 21 Savage? I'm forgetting.
I believe that's
This time it was 21 Savage. The one before that was Wiz Khalifa and MKX.
See, I don't remember. I do not remember the music because the thing that overtook it like a week after was that someone just recut the entire trailer, but they used Electric Light Orchestra as Mr. Blue Sky instead, and it was just the greatest thing. So like that trailer is now permanently ingrained into my brain with the happiest fucking song you can think of.
Right.
I don't remember how the 21 Savage song goes. I don't want to know.
I might have seen the Mr. I just remember recuts that had Techno Syndrome.
Yeah.
Those are the recuts I saw.
It's gonna happen again.
I want to say Ed Boon said this time they're not going to use like an actual like licensed song, but don't quote me on it. But I could have sworn I saw a tweet in the last few months where he said they're actually not going to be using a licensed song this time. So maybe they did listen to that feedback.
We shall see.
Though I am a little concerned because I think it was Tabmock Combat, whatever you want to call him. He put out a poll on Twitter like a month and a half, 2 months ago. This was right around when I did like a video on the Mortal Kombat music and how it's changed and whatnot. And he put out a poll of asking the people that follow him on Twitter what their favorite like music has been for Mortal Kombat and like the trailer, and Wiz Khalifa or 21 Savage, I can't remember which one actually was winning, which was very disturbing.
Yeah, that's the problem with Twitter is you get all the young kids.
Yeah.
That's
Look,
their
man,
territory.
It's a whole new generation of gamers out there. We
The
are
combat
like in
kids.
our late 30s. We are in our early 40s.
We're the combat old
dying
guys.
out.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you use like a rap song from the 2020s, you are only appealing to the kids. If you use a rock song from the 80s, you'll appeal to every generation because that stuff never gets old.
But I want a rock song from the 90s, Razor. Go away.
Well, that's a little iffier, but if it's look, nobody ever complains about Techno Syndrome. It's the safest choice you could possibly ever put on a Mortal Kombat trailer.
Totally agree. Like
Yeah.
when we got that new
story
version, everyone
trailer.
lost their shit.
Oh gosh, that story trailer, the launch trailer, I think it was for MK11 is still
Like
gives me goosebumps.
I don't even mind if you like do like a subpar remix. I'm still happier with that than mumble rap.
God, even thinking about that song in the launch trailer just makes me want to do a bicycle kick for some reason. Number 2 for Razer is 6 characters shown off in the gameplay demo / trailer. So as far as the gameplay demo, you nailed that. 6 characters as we counted up just now.
Yeah.
And then you said custom moves will be included in the game, which you're right about that as well.
Yep. You could build your own variation. I call that.
There you go.
We'll see Sub-Zero, and Razer said he won't like his outfit.
I'm gonna 50% that one. I don't hate it, but it's got problems.
Is it the hat? Because a lot of people complain
No, it's
about
actually not the hat. It's everything from the neck down.
The hat's the best part.
The hat is the
memorable
best part,
bit.
yeah. Like I don't mind the hat. It's a little silly, but it's not like I just hate all the stripes on everybody's fucking clothing, all the like unnecessary zigzags.
Yeah.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe approach to costume design.
Yeah, I would love to think that finally they'll go simpler, but they've given no indication that they'll do that. So unless they just have like a completely different designer take over.
I wouldn't even mind having a bunch of stripes and seams if they like looked like they made sense. But there's just like shapes that go nowhere and serve no purpose.
Yeah. All right, and Razor's last one here of his 5 was 1 or 2 new characters will be shown off in the gameplay reveal, and when he says new, the Dream Lady counts, possibly as the villain. So Dream Lady didn't really happen. That was kind of...
No, but, I mean, Chronica is similar, so I kind of ballparked it.
Yeah, and then the 1 or 2 new characters shown off in the gameplay reveal, I don't think that happened, though.
Again, if you count Gareth.
Was he? Yeah, I am still so confused. So was he shown off in the gameplay reveal?
No, he had his own separate trailer, but we saw that at the event.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. My recollection for that is so poor, I guess, for Garrus. I remember him, when I think of him the most...
at the event because they showed us the opening of story mode with Raiden cutting Shinnok's head off.
Right. And then, like, my biggest memory of, like, Garrus being shown off was in that Check Yourself trailer that Ice Cube recently tweeted that it worked really well or whatever. Because then he does the whole, like, pause and then rewind or whatever. But I guess he did that in the original trailer, right? The one that you're talking about. Okay, so that's what I'm getting all mixed up.
We got to see some moves. We saw Garrus. Ronda Rousey fucking was up on stage or whatever. We saw the
better than her
of story mode
actually fucking up on stage.
Well, and then we
you're gonna think about that for a while.
Did they show the Shao Kahn pre-order trailer?
That was in the original trailer for MK11. Like when we were all reacting to it live at the Game Awards. That was at the end of like the actual
Okay.
Because I listened to that episode multiple times back in the day because I just loved how excited we all were. That was just awesome. That's still one of my favorite episodes ever. But what happened was in the original... in the video game award trailer, he wasn't a part of it, but then all the press release trailers that went out that while we were recording,
right? They threw the little Shao Kahn sitting on the throne at the end. Yeah, I remember now.
Yep. So that was fun and exciting when that all happened, except for the bunny ears. But so then and then we got Shad.
Fortunately, you can change that helmet. So
yes. And then Shad's 5 are it sounds like a movie, like the Shad 5. So number 1 was none of us will like the song in the trailer. So that was a little bit of overlap there. 2, cinematic trailer and no gameplay shown at E3, maybe not for a couple of months. So I re-listened to this episode before we recorded. So you thought, this is, like I said, this is back before when we thought it was going to be like an E3 thing. You thought they were going to show it like a trailer at E3, but no gameplay, and that we may not even see gameplay until like a couple months later at Evo, maybe, or like right before Evo. So you thought they were going to dangle it more like a carrot type of thing.
Yep.
So you're kind of right. I mean, they did do the initial trailer and then the gameplay reveal a month later at the reveal event. So you kind of wasn't exact, but I mean, I think that's considered credit there.
A month is a little while. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely used as a marketing tactic. no doubt. And then 3, a bunch of characters in the reveal trailer. So you thought it was going to be not necessarily on the level of Armageddon's, intro, but you thought they were going to show a lot of characters right out of the gate in the reveal trailer.
I was predicting Armageddon vibes, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was brought up. I know it was brought up as an example, but yeah, you were thinking we were going to get like a ton of characters out of the gate. Number 4, you thought like Dark Raiden was going to play a major part, like a recap of him, basically. Maybe even in the trailer, it would go even push him further as the villain, basically.
Well, I fucked that up, didn't I?
And then number 5, so you thought like we're gonna get like a very story-heavy trailer, like more emphasis on the story, and you thought we were gonna get a canon story death, like as a shock, like almost like Liu Kang getting his neck snapped. Like you thought it was gonna be like we'd get like a big story death in the trailer.
None of that. No. That didn't wind up happening.
All right, and then we'll fast forward here a bit to the reveal event. So these were all of our predictions leading into the reveal event, and I got Django's in here as well. So we each did 3 for this. We didn't do 5 for this one, and this was just about the reveal event, because this was after we got the initial trailer for MK11. Shad said we're going to get 3 classic stages or more. I don't think we did. I think we just got the one, right, in the original... I
remember the tournament stage.
The courtyard? Dead courtyard?
I think that was...
yes, that's right.
And then you said Shang Tsung would be playable in the demo. Obviously not till DLC. Scarlet revealed for the roster. So you definitely called that.
Yes, I remember that as being the one thing I was really happy about calling.
Yeah. So props on that. And Temp actually had her on his prediction roster list or whatever. So you both kind of... put a lot of faith in Scarlet. What did you know? No, I'm just kidding.
She just went over really well from the beginning.
Yeah. It's
hashtag Castleman.
Damn it. Razor guessed number 1 was 8 characters in the demo playable. So those several months distance went from 6 to 8. So he jumped to my level of the 8 characters playable in the demo, which didn't pan out. Sub-Zero is in the demo, which he was right. 3 trilogy characters, Sub, Scorp, and Raiden, and then 3 non-trilogy. And then 2 new is what his breakdown of that would be. So he had Sub, Scorp, and Raiden, but then he thought we'd get 3 non-trilogy, which didn't pan out. Only Scarlet, I think. And then 2 new. For mine, I said Sub-Zero will not be revealed. I don't know what I was smoking, but... yep, I thought they would hold him out basically for even later as like I don't know, save one of the big 2 for a later hype reveal. That didn't end up being the case. He was there. There will be some legacy gameplay, more from some than others. So I thought they're going to take the Injustice 2 route and go with more of a legacy gameplay approach, and I don't think that was the case. Right? I don't think we got any legacy gameplay.
I would say I would actually lean more towards Shad being right on that, just because MK11 borrows so much. From you, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would still say there is quite a bit of legacy in MK11, but it's retuned, so to speak. But I would say there's a lot of MK9 and MK11.
Gotcha. So yeah, it's not quite what I was thinking, but you could look technicality wise. And then I said my last one was going to be the select screen will feature a vertical roster, basically a vertical layout. Since they always change it up every game, they usually go vertical, then horizontal, then vertical. So I was just playing the odds basically that they would go with more of a vertical layout, which they kind of did. It ended up being a weird diamond thing that they never finished, but if they had finished it, I would have had to imagine it was intended to be a vertical.
more vertical than horizontal. I would.
Yeah.
I'll put a green check mark on that one.
Yeah, for sure. And then I said it was going to be basically rode the same thing that you said earlier, months earlier, and that it would be more colorful, more personality to the characters, and going to be super satisfying. So that must have been where the super satisfying came into play. I completely forgot that was there, but I have it in my notes.
I think the origin is when we're talking about our MKX retrospective, and I was talking about the execution.
That's fine.
The good and the bad in MKX.
Super satisfying. All right, and then Temps 3 were number 1, 3 3D era characters, and 1 will be Fujin. As Shad would say, you sweet, sweet summer child. I want to live in your world,
try.
man.
We're all innocent in our
As Chad
ways.
said. And you rode that Fujin train for quite a long time, and the 3D era characters. And then a character redesign will be very polarizing, mostly negative. Now, you could say this probably about at least 2 characters in MK11.
Possibly Scarlet, maybe.
Definitely Frost.
I wouldn't
Frost
say.
is
Oh yeah, Frost. Oh
yeah,
okay.
I was
Scarlet
thinking.
Yellow.
Yeah, I was thinking Frost, and I was thinking.
It's kind of mixed. Like,
I like Scarlet's design.
I like what they did with her moves and outfits, but man, do I hate how they changed her story.
I hate the story change. I like about half her new outfits, but I really miss her 9 moveset. I liked it way more.
I
always thought her 9 moveset felt like Smoke in the Trilogy era. That it was a bunch of placeholders based on another character.
Like, yeah, I actually had this conversation.
She plays like a modified Melina in 9.
Yeah, I had this conversation with Shred not too long ago. And he's pro MK9 Scarlet because he likes her being more of an assassin. Or I was more like, I'm into the Blood Mage more just because I felt like that's more unique. Like in the franchise, we have a lot of assassin types, especially female. So I kind of dug what they did with her in 11.
I do think she rocks the MK2 costume better than everyone. What's up, Chad?
The assassin vibe, like Razor was saying, in 9 was specifically why I liked it. It was like she spawned out of Melina the same way that Jade spawned out of Katanas. So I thought it was really appropriate. They did a great job with it. That was
I wouldn't mind if she kept like a move where she throws where she leaps into the air and throws like 3 daggers diagonally or something like that.
Just to give it a little more of that flavor, yeah.
All of her other moves were just slight variations on Melina's moves. And I don't need that.
You could work with. Like, they worked with the Jades over time, you know?
Well, when we finally got a good Smoke, it was by throwing out all of the MK2 and 3 stuff, except for the teleport punch.
I mean, in principle, his Smoke Bomb does kind of act the same way as a harpoon. It brings you closer, just in a different fashion. There's enough DNA of the original Smoke.
The Smoke Bomb is more like Rain's Water Ball, if anything.
The purpose served is still the same. He's still got a teleport punch. He's still got a move that acts in similar principle to a spear or Rain's Water Ball. He still is an MK9, an extension of his original self.
Let's dial it back.
This is a stretch.
Let's dial it back. I'm going to reel it back in. So Temp's original prediction was
about Smoke. It's a mistake.
A character redesign will be very polarizing, mostly negative. Now, I would say
Frost for sure. I forgot about Frost.
Yeah. I think that definitely applies to Frost. As much as I liked what they did with Frost, I know that I'm in the minority there. So mostly negative would absolutely be fitting for that. I think most of the crowd were not happy with what they did. I would also say maybe the Sindel retcon would also fit in that because that was mostly negative too.
Yeah.
Everyone hated that shit.
And then number 3 is Smoke playable. And that didn't happen.
Womp womp.
So I'm going to give myself partial credit on that?
What?
Why?
No reason.
Okay.
No, you denied.
Fuck you too!
Now seeing your actual, seeing your predictions laid out this way, now I know why MK11 crushed your soul as far as it did. You were very pro Fujin, very 3D era. Apologies. This is the game that they're gonna. I mean, they did in some aspects, but yeah, in others they really they didn't.
In a lot of ways, MK11 was the second game in a row where most of our predictions didn't come true. So
where we were pulling for certain things that just never materialized or were late to the party.
Especially 3D era characters, we kept saying it. Like, oh man, Havoc's in this one, Fujin's in this one, Smoke's coming back, and those things never happen.
Here's the thing: is they're always late on what people are really asking for. They're always a day late and $1 short.
They're usually
basically
1 game late. They are now 2 games late on Havoc and Smoke.
That's true. All right, and then we have Django's 3 here. He said Nightwolf is playable in the demo, which not correct. No tag mode, which he was correct. And that he will hate the character select screen theme. And yeah, the select screen theme is probably the worst in the series.
Does 11 have a select screen theme, or does it just have one menu theme that plays on every screen?
That is the case. When I didn't even realize that till I did a video on it, and I'm like, when I go back, when I was recording footage, you go back to the character select screen, it doesn't even re-loop it, like to start it from scratch. There's no beginning hook or anything.
No,
it's just it can be dead silent.
The entire
it can
be lifeless.
Yeah, it's like it'll be like horns occasionally, but then there'll be times where you hear nothing.
I don't actually consider the menu quote unquote music in 11 as music.
That's really strange. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
It's ambient, extremely ambient.
Yeah, it is definitely. I did have an asterisk on there that I don't know what this was in context to, so he must have added. He also thought there was gonna be a new ninja character, but there wasn't. I don't think. Alrighty, so now we're all caught up. That's our recap of MK11s. In retrospect, got a lot wrong. Occasional right thing here and there. But yeah, definitely was not what we were expecting from like a lot of directions. So let's get into our MK12 predictions. Clean slate. This game could be anything, whatever. What are we thinking? What are our predictions going to be that years from now we'll come back to and wonder if we were right or wrong? I guess I'll kick us off here, and we'll just go down from there. So, my number one, and this has been something I've been spouting off in the Discord. If you pay attention in the hype and speculation, I've said this for months. I did this when I did my roster prediction video like a month and a half ago. I've said this. A lot of people disagree and didn't think it was going to happen, but I've been saying for a while now, due to Ed Boon's tweets, that there's going to be that they're aiming to fix this perception that they hate the 3D era characters. So it's funny that we just went through all those previous predictions, and there's a lot of 3D era thought that was going to happen for MK11, and it just didn't. But the fact that they've actually now acknowledged it, Ed Boon himself has acknowledged it and has said that's something that they will soon fix. Like, to go out of your way in a Q&A and even say that, I feel like you wouldn't say that unless it's something you feel confident in. I mean, they've developed this game, right? It's got to be close to finishing if it's coming out this year. So it's like he wouldn't have said that in the Q&A unless his balls are already on the table, basically. This isn't it'll happen eventually. This will be...
He's sticking his neck out now.
Yeah, so it's like... And he didn't even have to answer that question. He could have ignored it, or he could have just given one of his vague answers, which he does a lot too. But the fact that he didn't tells me, okay, maybe this is finally the time we're going to get the frickin' 3D era representation we've been asking for, if not even more. So I went as far as to say, and this is what I've said for months now, at least 5 non-debuted 3D era characters on the base roster, and closer to 10 total 3D era characters, including previously brought back ones. So if we're just talking about the non-debuted, the ones that haven't debuted, so have not been playable in an NRS game, so not counting Kenshi, Quan Chi, Tanya, etc., not counting them, I think we're at least getting 5. And we have a pattern so far of getting 2 per game. So we got 2 in MK9 with Quan Chi and Kenshi technically at the time. And then MKX, we got Tanya and Bo Raicho as the 2 non-debuted ones. And then in MK11, we got Fujin and Frost. So for me to think that they are going to say this is a perception they are going to fix, you have to go above and beyond. You cannot just give us 2 again and say we're fixing it. Like, you have to go 3 or 4 times the amount that you've been giving us for it to feel like a real splash. It's got to feel like a significant portion of the roster is dedicated to these characters. So my first prediction, is at least 5 non-debuted 3D characters, 3D era characters on the base roster, maybe more through DLC, and closer to 10 total 3D era characters, including previously brought back ones on the base roster. So that's when you get your Kenshis, your Quan Chis, Tanyas, etc.
I mostly agree with you, actually. I think it depends on one thing, and that's how many new characters they put in. So my theory is they may just say the 3D era characters are the new characters. In that case, you'd be absolutely right. I think 5 is a good number. But right now, I'm using my metric. For my metric, I'm using the the Sean Hemrick Magic Zero. So I'm thinking we're going to get about 3. 2's possible. I'm leaning more towards 3 than 2. But I'm thinking.
Hold on.
To me, the magic number is.
It will be more than 0, and then it was fucking what?
So I don't get.
Got Tanya. I think it was 2.
That's
Shinnok.
the thing, though. Like when you say 2 to 3, is that fixing anything if their previous games have been delivering us consistently 2 per game? 2 in MK9, 2 in MKX, 2 in MK11. Why would them delivering 2 to 3 this time, the same basic that they've been giving us, how would that fix anything, though? How would that be a fix of a perception?
It depends if they count MK4 as 3D era, which traditionally I don't. But if you do, I see what you're saying. But I think Ed Boon, this is a guess. I can't look into the soul of Ed Boon, but sure. I think he was specifically referring to Deadly Alliance Deception. That's what I think.
Maybe.
So 2 would be a fix in that case.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely include MK4. I know that's, it's not even so much is it 3D era as much as like those characters are still in the same bucket as Deadly Alliance and Deception characters in terms of underrepresentation. That's all that really matters when it comes to
the non-trilogy characters.
Yeah, basically. Exactly. So it's less about like, are they 3D era? Are they not? And it's more about, I think they know what we mean and what the audience means, because Fujin was a part of that. People are asking for your Reikos and so on and so forth. Like, those characters are still in the same bucket of underrepresented. Hell, you know what? I'd put Motaro and Kintaro in that same bucket too, because they're still underrepresented characters. Whether they're, like, when people say 3D era, they don't necessarily just want, like, Deadly Alliance and Deception. What they're really saying is what, like, Shad clarified, it's the people that we never get to see. It's like it's this bygone era that they seemingly give no attention to. So it's more about the characters. I mostly agree with that
too. Like there are characters in the 3D era I do not consider 3D era characters. For example, to me, Kenshi is an MK9 character. Yes, he debuted in the 3D era, but in terms of like overall like mainstream perception, I consider him part of the MK9 wave. Even if that's not technically accurate, that is the clout that he holds.
But he only gets that now because he's been in 4 games, whereas a lot of the characters that people are actually talking
about, graduated, so to speak,
have only been in 1, maybe 2 if they were lucky, not counting Armageddon, of course, which I'm not in any of this discussion just because it was all in. So at that point,
I mean, when I say 3D era characters, I personally mean 3D era characters, and from that,
when I say I want 3D era, I don't mean Motaro. I also want Motaro. But...
Sure, yeah, I'm not saying Motaro or Kintaro. Technically, I wouldn't refer to him as 3D era. That's not what I mean.
There is kind of a shorthand when we say the trilogy characters. I think that what we really mean in most cases is the UMK3 cast specifically.
Yeah, it's trilogy and it's non-trilogy. It's much easier to refer to him in an NRS.
Is not from Ultimate, technically.
Technically, he is, though. Home version.
We'll call it fuzzy.
Motaro is a very interesting example, because the thing about Motaro is the character Motaro is not a 3D era character, but his legs are, and that makes him very interesting.
Only the front legs. The back ones got left out.
But that is a cornerstone of Motaro's Mortal Kombat Razor.
Half of Kintaro's body has not been in the 3D era. Half of Motaro's body is the only character that didn't get to be in Armageddon.
Okay, so let's bring this back to the original point, though. So, Temp, you think... Because I
think
still
cut down new characters, honestly, and bring in 3D era.
Fine.
So I think you are right. I think you are technically correct.
That's another thing I've been saying for a while now, is also, like, I even put that in my roster prediction video or whatever, was don't do new characters. Like, maybe do Great Kung Lao because, that it's MK11 set that up, but don't do anybody else that's considered new, because the 3D era characters for a lot of people are new. Like, those are characters that haven't been used in 15 to 20 plus years. So essentially those characters are completely fresh. Those will be new characters for a majority of fans, as well as even the people that know those characters. They're going to feel so fresh that they're essentially new characters. So don't keep introducing more characters to the series. Rather, give attention to the ones that haven't gotten that attention in forever. So that would be my ideal scenario, is they don't include a bunch of new characters, or if any at all, really. And that way we focus in on the ones that give that. But either way, the main point was that's my prediction, and it's based on Ed Boon saying that this is going to be a perception that they fix. And I don't think you can fix that perception by adhering to the same thing we've been getting the last 3 games, which was 2 per game. So
Was
2
that
to 3
philosophy?
again would just be a complete like slap in the face disappointment to me. It would have to be 5 to 10 like base roster to really make like a statement, in my opinion.
And I agree with you. I can't tell you what episode I said it on, but I've said for a while that 3D era characters, if you brought them back, would essentially be new characters. So if they do borrow that philosophy, then yeah, I think I would actually bet on 6 3D era characters, to be honest with you.
Is that non-debuted or just total? Like including the Quan Chis and Ken Chis and Tanya's and Bo's and Fujin and Frost, technically.
Non-debuted.
Okay.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Oh, I think I'm confusing myself. Basically, characters we haven't seen before since the 3D era. Characters
Yeah, so non-debuted. You're right. Like that's what I mean by that, though. So my original prediction here is 5 non-debuted at least on the base roster. So anybody that has not been playable in an NRS era game. So Lee May would count, even though she's cameoed. Your Drawmans, your whatevers, all them basically, if they haven't been playable in a 3D or a NRS game, they would count towards that number. Anyways, so that's my number 1. Next up looks like it is Razor.
Okay. So I'm going to go kind of bold, but I'm actually not, because I'm repeating what the two of you guys just said. I also think there will be no new characters. Well, I think there might be one new character if Great Kung Lao is in it. But if you look at the last time they rebooted, MK9 had introduced only a single new character into the franchise, and Scarlet was DLC, so it wasn't even on the base roster.
Right.
I think we're going to see a similar scenario. So my prediction is 0 to 1 actual new characters, and as far as how many returning 3D era characters we'll get, if you consider them to be in the place of where we would normally get new characters. If you look across the series, the most common number for how many new characters are in a game, the average is about 8. Yeah. So I think there will be 8 3D era characters, but that's including the possibility of ones we've seen before, like Quan Chi and Tanya and Kenshi.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, when I did a recent count of like how many new characters were introduced in each new game, and yeah, you're right. I think 8 was a commonality.
Yeah, it's usually about 8.
All right. I like it.
My second prediction.
Nope.
We're one at a time.
One at a time.
Around the table.
One at a time. Okay. you guys talked for so long, I got thrown off.
I gave all 5. No, I'm just kidding. All right, Shad, you are up, sir.
All right. I'm going to be the negative Nancy here. And be the dissenting voice. While I agree that there's a lot to be said for Ed's statement that, they want to fix that perception, Ed's also a hype man. Yeah. So while I do believe there will be some representation in terms of maybe MK4 3D era characters, I am not prepared to say 8 to 10. I think you guys are fucking lunatics. Maybe 8 to 10 if we're very lucky after all the DLC is out. Sure, maybe. But I don't give us anywhere more than 3 or 4, max 5 of those characters base roster. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's all I'm prepared to give. However, I will stipulate, I think this is Reiko's game. I think it has to happen. What I say, maybe 4 3D era or MK4 characters base roster, and Reiko is among them. Definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like of like all the ones Ed Boon's commented on, Reiko probably has a really good chance, just because there was that tweet where he's like, who are you more hyped about right now, Reiko or Shao Kahn? For Ed Boon to say right now Reiko, like that once again, I feel like that has to be coming from somewhere. Like, I mean, you don't just say that.
There is two things going into that. One of them is that we've seen way too much Shao Kahn the past several years.
Yeah,
I have
that
fatigued to
guy.
death of Shao Kahn. Yeah,
I'm very
I could
fatigued
just
on it.
go without Shao Kahn altogether. Would be nice for a little while. But the other thing is Reiko is the other, like, him and Nitara are the two characters who have been in the most adaptations recently of the the non, like, Johnny's and Sonya's and Liu Kang's.
You
and
got the
whatnot.
comic. Was Nitara in the comic?
Nitara was mentioned in the comic, but she doesn't show up. But
so obviously Reiko played a big part there, and then they
Reiko's
were both
in the comic.
movie.
They're both in the Legends movies, and they're both in the live action film. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say with the way Shad feels about Reiko is exactly how I feel about Nitara. So yeah, I think that's very reasonable.
Interesting. Okay, so just to recap there, Shad. So you said four MK4 / 3D era characters on the base roster, and one of those will be Reiko.
Yeah, okay. That's what I say.
Cool.
If not, I'll eat a shoe.
Damn,
my shoe.
Oh God, American.
Where am I getting newspaper?
Shipping's on me. You're good.
All right, Temp, you're number one, sir. First up.
So I kind of wrote mine out in order of controversialness.
Sure.
So this one's not an early. I don't think I'm wrong about this, but I'm going to say they are taking out and possibly replacing Breakaway. That's my first prediction.
I hope.
It's the trend.
Everyone wants it gone. Everyone.
Can we just go one game back and have just regular ass breakers and supers again instead of the fucking fatal blows being its own separate thing?
Back in my day when Cabal gave you the spins, you ate damage for half your life.
I don't need offense and defense meters. Let me spend 2 bar to, fucking do a breaker, 1 bar to EX, 3 to super. That was fine. It worked great.
Yeah, I was glad to see Stamina Gun in MK11, even though it was kind of weirdly still there in its own incarnation. But generally, every game is a response to the last game. And we saw a huge reduction of 50-50s in MK11. And in MKX, when that came out, we saw a huge reduction of Cabal. So they tend to respond to the previous game. And I think that pattern will persist. Because I don't think Boon is like, I think Boon does want to make as many people happy as possible, which often does not include people like me, and that's okay, usually. But I think in this case, though, I don't think there's that much disagreement. I think Breakaway was widely panned with everyone except Rio, and I respect Rio deeply, but I just don't think he was right about this, so I think Breakaway is gone.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, so far, for all our sakes, hopefully all these are in the right ballpark. And yeah, Breakaway. Do we want to snake or do we want to go back down the ladder?
Would that mean that Temp goes again? Or?
Yeah. You want to snake it?
Yeah.
We can snake it.
Yeah, let's keep it interesting.
Snake it up.
So this is a much riskier prediction, right? And I would say there's a 20% chance this will happen, but I do think it could happen. And I do see the actor doing it. So my next prediction, my number 4, is that R.J. McCready will be a guest character in Mortal Kombat 12.
Nice. So,
wow.
It's not pretty cool. It's not the Kurt Russell role I would expect.
You thought of
more Snake Plissken?
Yeah, I feel like Snake Plissken is the one that comes to mind first if you're looking for like a guy who would be in a fighting game, but
well, the thing has had sort of like this renaissance in the last 10 years.
I will say, like, the escape from movies are far from my favorite of the John Carpenter, Kurt Russell group. So I would certainly prefer McCready or God damn it, what's his name in Big Trouble?
Oh, Jack Burton.
Jack Burton, yes.
Oh, Jack Burton would be great. Like I didn't think about Jack Burton is also a possibility. I don't think
not all of them.
Just very likely though.
Have Kurt Russell just do the voice for all of them and have them be.
Here's the thing: is like Jack Burton should be a Johnny Cage skin the way Carl Weathers was a Jack skin.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that would work.
I'm just going to put across the fact that if you put RJ McCready in the game, you're creating an expectation for the Thing to be in the game.
Which
somehow
would be
I don't
cool.
see that. I don't see that.
I think the Thing will be a fatality, cool, honestly.
He turns out to be the Thing, and it's never actually the McCready.
No, the Thing kills the opponent, and then McCready goes, "Oh shit!" and he throws a fucking dynamite. That's what I think what'll happen.
So it just comes in from off screen.
Yeah, 100%.
Or the start of the fatality is your character revealing they're a Thing.
That could be tight. Yeah.
No, wait. The fatality starts, it blacks out, and then McCready and your character are just like sitting around like a fire in the middle of all this wreckage.
The two of you slowly freeze to death because neither one knows which is the Thing.
They're just passing back and forth the bottle of hooch, and it just says fatality, and a question mark pops up after a second.
Where were you, Collector?
The Thing was on my guest character.
I got lost
list.
in the store
with all his shit on his back. I'm mad. But yeah, just I think people love McGrady. People love the Thing for different reasons, and I think you can have both. But if you put the Thing as a guest character, you can't make McGrady a fatality, right? So I think
you can make Keith David a fatality.
Say again?
You can make Keith David a fatality.
Yeah, sure. Oh man, that would be such a good fall. I didn't even think about that, man. But yeah, so I think I'm not super confident on this, but unlike Escape from New York, I think the fires are actually burning pretty bright for the Thing. It's very much part of the zeitgeist right now, and has been for a while. That movie made such a comeback and never really went away. Escape from New York has kind of, pun intended, rode the wave solidly on its popularity over the last 3 decades. So yeah.
Would you play McCready?
Yeah.
Interesting. Before you had said, that was just a random quote off a random episode, is you could put whatever guest character in there, you're not going to play it. But interesting. Everybody's got usually at least one that's their soft spot.
So let me put it this way, right? Like, I guess to clarify, my official stance is if it were up to me, I would put no guest characters in the game,
sure,
except Mike Boon. But if he's in the game,
naturally,
and it's Kurt Russell, yeah, I'm gonna try him, man.
So here's my question: how do you work the petri dish and hot needle into his moveset?
It's random. It's RNG. Sometimes he will be the Thing. Sometimes he won't be.
How do you work his blow-up companion into his moveset?
Very carefully.
I wanted to have a move. I wanted to have a move where he like dumps a glass of whiskey on you, like you're the chess computer. You're the chess computer.
That's a stun move. That's his spear.
Yeah, that's his
cheating bitch.
Time is a flat circle. We've definitely had this conversation before about McCready in Mortal Kombat.
Oh gosh, if in between rounds he was like, "Well, fuck you two." Like, oh god, that'd be so good. But yeah. So yeah, I want to put a solid 20% on that. I think that is more likely than unlikely. Well, it's more likely than people think, I believe.
Give him the Jill Valentine striker moves from MVC where like the dog comes in.
The one zombie trails, yeah, that would be tight.
Yeah.
All right, Shad. You're number 2.
Oh god. Let's see. So I had a bunch of predictions here. Do I want to waste one of them talking about what guest character I think will be in a game? No, I don't care enough. All right. I think we're going to get... fuck it, I'll waste one. If we're going to get a guest character, they're going to do John McClane. It's going to happen.
And I could see that.
Bruce Willis is super retired. Like, he has dementia.
That's not going to stop them from getting a sound alike. They can get his likeness rights and they can do it. And I just, if we're gonna have like Rambo as a guest character, nothing is off the table to me in terms of boundaries of taste or what have you. I think anything's possible. So John McClane is my guess, my prediction if I have to have one based on a guest character. Continuing the tangent. no, that doesn't mean I like it or endorse it. I just think it's what's most likely to happen because
I don't know if
ideas.
they'll continue 80s guys as a theme, because they kind of go in themes. They did horror, then they did 80s guys.
Yeah.
I think
the
Like,
thing,
what's left then?
the thing
I would
about
expect something a little more. What does WB want to promote? Like maybe John Wick or something. You know?
Didn't he
I
turn
think
that down?
Keanu Reeves already
Reeves?
shot that down. He said he didn't want his likeness appearing in Mortal Kombat.
I think they're just going to do mash. Like we've talked about this before. It'll probably just be a mashup of different styles. I doubt they stick to one theme this time. I could see some horror, some action, comic, so on and so forth. Everything they've touched around before. I'd imagine they bring some of that.
Yeah,
back.
I mean we're
Like,
bound to get like at least one DC character for no reason.
MK11 was already a gigantic mishmash of styles. There's no theme to me anymore.
What was I gonna say? Oh, on the McLean thing, they did have. So Call of Duty has a lot of these characters brought in as well as just like little skins and whatnot. They had Ghostface and they had Rambo and so on and so forth. They had a John McClane in there as well, but for sound bites, I think they just took them from the movie, so it's not nearly as intensive as it would be for Mortal Kombat.
Maybe they'll wanna promote the Flash movie and they'll give us Michael Keaton Batman.
That'd be interesting.
It's
I
also
would
worth
Keaton.
And Bruce Willis can technically do the role because it's a very specific kind of like brain disorder where it's not that his brain isn't working, it's that his memory isn't working. That's why he has the earpieces in all his movies. So as long as he doesn't have to memorize the lines, he should be able to do the part.
I thought it was like a speech thing where he just couldn't talk, but I don't know. So that was just my assumption based on what I'd.
It might be that
thought I
too.
knew.
I'd probably have to look a little further into it, but I think he can still like speak properly, but I could be wrong about that.
But yeah, I mean, they could use a sound alike or anything. I don't think McLean's that crazy of a prediction either. I mean, with given Rambo and Terminator and so on and so forth, McLean's in that same ballpark. Okay. So, Razor, you're a numero dos.
Okay. So I have a theory here. Follow my logic. So the Mortal Kombat Onslaught mobile game is still in beta, and some data mining has revealed characters that are coming to the game that are not in it yet. Characters that don't have models, but their names are there.
Right.
And there are a couple of characters that were in the game at launch or are seen in cutscenes where they use MKX character models. Goro and Shinnok, like from the neck down, from the neck up, he's the head from the 12 cutscene or the 11 cutscenes. Quan Chi, they instead of using his 11 model, they made a whole new, like they remade his Deadly Alliance outfit.
Right.
But these characters, the fact that they didn't just stick their models from X or 11, if they had them, into the game right away, says to me that they're going to get their 12 models. That the reason the characters haven't been added to the game yet is because they're waiting for 12.
Mm-hmm.
One of those characters is Cyber Smoke. So my prediction is that not only are we getting Smoke, but that he'll be a robot.
Interesting.
It would also be like a really like a quick shorthand way to say this is what's different about this reboot compared to 9. Because the most noticeable thing 9 did is flip Sub-Zero and Smoke. Which one's the robot?
I can see it easily. It's about time for another flip.
Would that make people happy though? I feel like the majority.
It would make me happy.
Well, I sorry. Would it make like because my comment was more like I feel like Smoke's big, more modern following stems from MK9, does it not? Like modern. I'm talking about like Modern Family, all the art that you see, and when people are like, we want Smoke, and when he tops lists and so on, I always see it as more of like a push from his design in 9 being the design that they like for Smoke, like with the hair and everything.
If you're gonna reboot, you've got to show him become a robot, which means he gets skins of both.
Yeah, I just hope we don't go through the same rigmarole and story beats in general. Like, I don't want to be like checking boxes. Like, does Smoke become a cyborg this time? Does he not? Does this happen this time?
I think that is a requirement of every MK universe.
We are in fact probably
Cyber Ninja has to happen, and whether Smoke participates or not is always going to be a marker to look out for.
The question of human or robot is permanently now a part of his identity, and it's
been long enough. The character has 2 looks. It's the same as Sub-Zero has the ninja and the unmasked.
Yeah. I mean, perfect world, if he was brought back as a cyborg, you would keep a lot of his MK9 gameplay elements, so that way you could have a Premier skin for human Smoke.
We talked about this in previous episodes. There's no reason his movesets should be different from human to cyborg. It should be a cosmetic thing. It should be skins. He should always be able to be both. Because there are fans of both, and there always will be.
Temp, how would you feel about that? I know you're part of the Smoke train here. So it sounds like you two prefer Cyborg, but I thought somebody didn't prefer Cyborg. They preferred human.
I have a preference for human, but all Smoke is good Smoke.
I'm more of an Enenra guy myself. Just to cover the gamut, you know. Just to cover the gamut.
Just put it in my lungs. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want.
Well, Temp, you have to say that your favorite is the Deception, Nano Smoke.
You gotta complete the puzzle.
Yeah.
God, I mean, to me, like, I guess if you put the gun to my head and my hand to the fire, I have to say human, because MK9 is the best gameplay rendition of Smoke. But to me, you know, they're all Tomas, you know? Tomas was a cloud, he was a robot, he was a human, like he was all those things. You know, it's just like it's asking me like
that's part of the appeal of the character, that he goes through these developments, he changes forms, he's not static. That's what makes him interesting.
I mean, part of the reason I wanted him to be human again so badly in the original timeline was because they turned him into a robot. You know, it's the fact that they play with this identity, that it shifts and it you know, just changes from one game to the next.
I mean, I guess if we were still doing the time travel shit, we could do like a Noob Smoke thing, but it would be Smoke, and we could have every world there. But
Smoke and his tag team partner Smoke.
Yeah. It'll be like a Marvel thing. It'll be all 3 Smokes. It'll be Smoke, which is a meme for the FGC, if you guys, because Arturo Sanchez, whenever Smoke did his juggle, he did the down 3, 1, 2, and he'd do that 3 times because that's just the combo. So it's like every time he'd go up higher in intonation. Smoke.
Yeah, I remember being smoked a lot of times while we played together. And
Cabal too. Everyone's like, hey, whenever he did the corner combo, it was great. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, I guess I have to pick human, because I guess when I fell in love with Smoke, it was MK2. MK3 wasn't even a thing yet, and that was the human Smoke. But I don't think like you can really pick at the end of the day. They are all equally Smoke. Nano might potentially be a contender if he got his mind back in any of those games, but when he did, it was off screen at best. We still don't really know what the fuck was going on with that. So I guess I'm leaning towards human, but I think this game is going to be MK2 centric anyway, but I could be wrong. So I will never say no to any version of Smoke. Ideally, I'm with Razor. If their costumes in the moveset incorporates all of the elements of all 3, then I'm happy. That's perfection.
I think we're all very content as long as he doesn't have a spear and a teleport punch like Scorpion in UMK3 again. We don't want to go back regressing 20-something years now, do we? We want MK9 Smoke back in terms of moves and abilities.
With like 800 skins and gear and all that, I would imagine as long as the gameplay doesn't, rely on a spear coming out of his chest or whatever, or a harpoon coming out of his chest, then yeah, I don't see why you can't have both versions of Smoke. That would be ideal, like we were talking about. Okay. So that was Razor's number 2. So for me, my number 2, and I've been beating this horse for, I shouldn't even say that. That's not PETA friendly, is it? Feeding this horse. That's the list of things. Don't feed a fed horse, guys. All right.
You can beat the horse if it's dead. It can't feel anything.
Yeah, I just don't think of dead animals to begin with. Regardless, number 2, I've been saying this for a while, and it was one of my predictions last time, but we're going again. One more time around the block. Tag team will be in this game. With the caveat, is it caveat or caveat?
It's caveat.
Caveat. I like that one better anyways. With the caveat that it doesn't have to be on release. So tag team will be in this game either on release or added in later in like a big update like MKXL was for MKX or MK11 Aftermath was for MK11. So basically, rather than just they've shown that they're not afraid to make like a big update to their game to kind of refresh it for a big new kind of re-release, so to speak, of the ultimate version. With MKX, like I said, the MKXL, then they brought out the rollback, which nobody thought they would do. The fact that they would put all that work into their game that had already been out for like a year or whatever by that point. Like, yeah. So, and then with Aftermath for MK11, continue on with the story, putting out new stages, new characters, which were included in story. That caught a lot of people off guard. So this time I'm thinking tag team is like one of the highest requested modes outside of maybe Conquest that the series has been getting for the past couple of games now is when's tag team going to be back? When's tag team going to be back? So why wouldn't we get tag team back? So one way or another, tag team makes it into this game. So I hope that's the main gimmick of the game, and that way it's like a real focus. But I would also settle for it being like I said, an addition, like a big update to the game would be pretty awesome. Like now it has tag, that would really rejuvenate it.
So. I have a counter theory to that.
Sure.
I have a feeling if they do tag, it would be an MK12 XL, and that's when they would do it.
That's what I just said.
Oh, okay, my bad. But that it would be it would not be base. It wouldn't be launched.
Yeah. I don't know if it's base. My prediction is that one way or another, it's in the game, either base or that's why I kept mentioning MKXL and MK11 Aftermath, because if you're gonna rejuvenate the game and put out like a huge update for the game, like MKX got with MKXL and 11 got with Aftermath, I could easily see them, instead of just like a story mode this time, they really go all in and say, hey, we're going to expand the roster by, putting out this big release of new characters, but we're also including tag team. That would be really cool. So, yeah.
For me, it's not even the tag team mode itself. It's the 4-player mode I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I hope they don't get the wrong idea and think we want like assists and like call out projectiles and stuff like that. All that stuff does is break the game, right? Like
it's all about having more ways to play with more people. Yeah. So
I just want to control 2 characters or play with 3 friends. That's the main thing I want.
Yeah, it's all about having like duos and be able to like represent teams in the game, either thematic or just fun. But yeah, I've gone on long like tangents over the years. Like even team combat was fun. It's no tag team, but it was also another way to play with your friends. And back then we didn't have the community or the online capabilities. Like the rollback wasn't a part of it at that point. So like being able to get a group of us online and be able to play together would be so much more fun, in my opinion, and really expand the longevity and replayability of the game rather than just the typical one-on-one fare. So that's the main appeal. But yeah.
I really think this is the game. We've been saying that for a little while now.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna throw it out there again. Hopefully one of these times I'll be right.
Sadly, I still lack that particular bit of faith.
Yeah,
I think that tag is such a gigantic deal that now that if it was to actually happen, it would be a game entirely centered around it. It would be like MK's version of Tekken Tag Tournament.
Yeah, you may be right, except for I just feel like they're not going to not do a story mode. Like that's just part of it, and they're not going to want to like not have their single player things. So I think if they did it for MK9, even if it wasn't like the be all end all tag mode, but it was playable in MK9, I think what's really been stopping it outside of their excuse of not many people played it because it's been so like requested and desired, I would have to imagine they think it would actually go over well this time. I think what's really been holding it back is how do you balance tag when you also had variations at play? Like that would be a balancing nightmare. And this doesn't even have to be balanced. It just has to be fun. Like I don't care if it's ranked worthy. I just want it to be something we can all play casually online for fun. Like that would just be super awesome. But yeah, I think if we get rid of variations, which is rumored to be the case based on Ed's interview comments on Destructoid or Kotaku or whatever the hell it was, yeah, if you get rid of variations and we go back to just base movesets, let's get tag. And they've been working on the game for longer.
I'm happy to call the the absence of variations confirmed. I'm 100% positive we're not getting variations back, but I think I give them even less credit than that. I think it's just based on a misunderstanding. I think the reason they won't do tag is because they think we want this elaborate tag mode with all these extra features.
Bells and whistles.
We're like, Cyrax is shooting his bombs off screen and shit like that. But that's not what we're looking for. We just want to control two characters. And I think they're afraid if they do that, we're going to call them lazy. And it's like, no, we just give us a 4-player mode and let us control two characters. This should be so easy to do. This should be the easiest thing on earth.
I mean, they used to have like even in the old Mortal Kombats, they'd have like the 2-on-2, like in Ultimate MK3. Didn't they have team mode where you could do 2-on-2 and 3-on-3 or whatever, or MK4 maybe? I'm thinking, I don't remember. But
yeah, no, it was in New MK3, I believe.
They would pop in. It's like endurance
MK3
fights.
Did have that. Trilogy had that as well, I believe.
Yeah, so it's like it doesn't even have to be something ultra special, like you said, with all the bells and whistles of a tag mode. It's literally let me pop out like while I'm playing, like me and Shad versus Razor and Temp, like somebody put in a question last time for our Q&A episode. It's like when I'm getting my ass kicked, let me tag out and then recover a little bit of health, and Shad pops in and does it, and then we go back and forth. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do any like special assists or like extra built-in mechanics on it. It's literally just a way for 4 people to be able to play together. Like you can balance teams around that. So if you have somebody that's ultra good and then somebody that's really bad, and then 2 people like, they're like in the middle, like average or whatever, then you put the best and the worst, and then the 2 in the average, and that way they can actually hold out, maybe a fight, out of it. I think it's just a fun way. And I've long said, like, from just getting tired of doing one-on-one, sometimes it's nice to just freshen up and be like, hey, let's go try our hand online and train together. And you and me, let's go play some tag matchmaking and have fun with that, because it's so much more fun to win and lose as a team, in my opinion, than it is like when you're with a friend or whatever, than it is just by yourself. That's my
I really wish more than any issue regarding Mortal Kombat, I could just get Ed Boon on like a Zoom call and just be like, okay, so let's just find out where everyone stands. This is what we want. And to me, this seems like a very easy thing to do. Yeah. Now, I'm just a little curious why it hasn't happened yet. And I'm almost positive the reason he would say is because it would be hard to balance. I'm like, Boon, you're not listening to me. If you think this is hard to balance, then you do not understand what we're asking for.
Yep.
It's literally the ability to control 2 characters and for the other opponent to control 2 characters. There is nothing here to balance. If you think this is a balance issue, you are not understanding what we are asking for.
That would just mean... Go ahead. No, finish your thought.
Well, I'm sure there is someone who wants to be able to call out an acid ball when they're playing Johnny Cage. Yes, that shit is always broken. I agree. Yeah. Don't do that. I can see why they wouldn't want to do that. But I see no reason why that is essential to a tag mode. I mean, when I played tag with anyone, even in the local San Antonio scene, no one ever used assists. And there were good reason to do so. There were uppercut infinites with the assist, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
I'm not looking for assists at all. Yeah. I'm looking more for the 4 of us being able to play a game together. Like King of the Hill takes forever. Like if you get a group of 8 people, to wait to be able to play your match again, it's like a good 20 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. Like, it takes a long time.
It's a healthy while.
Yeah. Whereas getting 4 people together, that's just what people do these days. They get together to play Fortnite. They get together to play Call of Duty or Rocket League or whatever. You and a group of friends is what people like to do in games, not just you and one person. It's not the same as it used to be where you just have one friend over on your couch or whatever and you play fighting games. Like, that is still obviously a thing. That's the core of Mortal Kombat. I'm not arguing against that. But like, getting a group of 4 together is not very hard to do in the online world that we live in with Discord and the great online that everybody has these days. So it's like, just allow it. And I agree with you. It's not about these tag combos and all these crazy things you can do with assists. It's more just let 4 of us load up a match together and fight each other 2-on-2. So you tag out when you want your buddy to come in and just have tag outs. You don't have to have built-in assist system. And yeah, if it's not super balanced, that's okay too. It'll be balanced if your characters are balanced. So like, if I'm playing Liu Kang and I'm teaming up with somebody that's Kung Lao and we're facing Noob and Smoke or whatever, like, as long as all 4 of those are individually balanced, then therefore this mode should be balanced, at least enough for public consumption. Like I said, it doesn't have to be tournament like standard or anything, but it should be something that's fun to play online.
And I think it'd be a great way to balance like the King of the Hill mode as well, because like, let's say if you're King of the Hill long enough, you are forced to be paired with the person with the least amount of wins. Yeah. Let's see how long you stay on that fucking hill now. So yeah, that can be fun for friends as well. That can create real dynamics.
Ooh, King of the Hill tag would be pretty fun, yeah. Okay, so that was my number 2. Then snaking back around, number 3. Li Mei will be playable. She's going to be done the best she's ever done, more than you can absolutely dream. She's going to be the best character ever. She's going to be super sweet, like super well done.
But not satisfying?
Just super satisfying. You didn't let me finish. Beyond super satisfying, like ultra satisfying. We're talking next level, like hyper satisfying.
And then she was evil for no.
I'm not finished here. And Temp
and killed Jared.
She's going to be done super satisfyingly well. And Temp will rediscover his love for Mortal Kombat from afar, as I play her, since he legally has a binding contract that forbids him from touching her due to giving up on her.
That's all. Nothing.
That's all my prediction.
Cyborg, if you look out your window right now, you will see that it's America. And I cite nothing.
America.
But
yes. My real prediction there is that if Li Mei is in the game, she's going to be done super amazingly well, and Temp will rediscover his love for Mortal Kombat.
That's my prediction. Great. If it happens, sweet. I'll be there. I will see you in the ring. But if it doesn't happen, that would be really sad and unfortunate.
We just want you back in the fold, man.
I just had to set up the joke.
All right. You rediscover your love for the series. You go back, you do what I'm doing. You play the older games you actually fell in love with, man. It's helped me so much. It really is.
I think there's been like a sort of like a resurgence of the 3D era games in the gameplay section. There's a lot of that going on these days, and there's a lot of buzz around Deadly Alliance even. So yeah, maybe if there was an easy way to play those games, I'd consider it. I just don't want to jump through the hoops of emulation. That's the main reason I don't.
That's my number 3 though. So, Razor, sir.
Okay. So this is a story prediction. And this one's probably playing it safe. I believe that the game will be set. Well, actually, this is half safe and half not safe. So the safe half is, I believe the game will not be set in Great Kung Lao's time. It will be set in the time where Johnny Cage and Sonya can be on the roster. And the not safe half is, I don't believe it will catch up to the quote-unquote present. My prediction is that the combat kids won't be in the game.
Yeah, fuck the combat kids. Honestly, like if that was the story direction where they reboot it, but then we jump all the way ahead to where like the combat kids are a part of it, God, that would be disappointing.
Yeah,
Because then it's like
it
we
would
didn't
just
do
like
anything. We
yeah,
didn't move
you'd
anywhere.
just be throwing away what happened at the end of 11 and going, okay, well, we're just X and 11 and 12. We're just keeping going. And
Like it'd be weird. I mean, it sucks for the people that like those characters if we're just before they can theoretically even exist. But I mean, that's kind of the risk you run when you jump the series ahead so many years and
I mean,
then
look,
bring it
they
back.
can be born and come back again.
Or they can be
Maybe this
DLC. DLC
time.
doesn't always have to be canon either. Like,
Yeah, that's where I stay. I think Razor's right, and they will be DLC. That's what I think is going to happen.
Cassie will be DLC.
It's possible.
Or Cicada.
I don't know. I don't think.
Or Jackie.
Well, I mean,
I think Jackie's a good DLC chance. I'm being real.
I really, if it were me, I want to just take a game off from Cassie and Jackie because the reboot gives you an opportunity to rework the things about them that didn't catch on with everybody.
I mean,
you could bring Jackie back in MK13, but have her be completely different from a gameplay perspective and not be gun gauntlets anymore, not be so much like her dad anymore. You could do something new.
I think they should sit out this whole entire trilogy outside of DLC. DLC's fine. Like if you want to make them DLC just because like that way they're on the roster and people get to play them. I mean, that's ultimately that matters a lot, is just being able to play your favorite character. So if Takeda comes back as DLC, great. But like for this, I think they should be sitting out this entire next trilogy. If MK12 is the start of a new trilogy and it's like 12, 13, 14, and it's not just like its own standalone game,
Well,
if it's a trilogy, please let's just focus on completely other characters for a change.
I think
we
it would
just
be
spent
nice.
two games focusing strictly on the combat kids.
So here's the thing. So if we're expecting like a whole bunch of 3D era characters, but we're also seeing a reboot, then there's a chance that 12 is going to cover a large amount of time in its story mode. There might be a jump somewhere, some kind of time skip, some kind of montage. I don't know what, but we may
80s music.
It's gonna be less than 3 games that it takes to catch back up to the present, I think. I don't think they'll do it in 12. I don't think they'll make it to the present in 12.
No.
But I think 13 or 14 could see combat kids. And the thing is, I would like to see Takeda in some fashion in either 13 or 14, because the best part of his story, the stuff that happened in the comic, would be better if it happened in a game.
Yeah,
and there is an opportunity to redo some of that down the line. Yeah, not right now, but down the line.
I feel like it's a certainty that like we're doing trilogy era again, but like as blatantly not trilogy as possible.
I think we could see some very radical differences. Like I wouldn't be surprised if story mode started at the MK1 tournament, but because Godlu had changed some things about the lives of the villains to prevent them from being recurring problems, then maybe 2 and 3 don't happen because those 2 games need Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn to do the same shit, and they won't because Godlu changed history.
Yeah, I feel like
we get MK1, and then we get some new story from there that leads to guys like Reiko and Havoc getting involved somehow. You never know.
Yeah, I feel like it's either like the invasion in 3 doesn't happen, or it happens like right away because they lose MK1 for whatever reason, or it's going to be as different as possible. I think it's going to try to do what 9 did, but like really go all in on it.
I was going to say, I hope it's different, because I do not like the idea of just reliving 1 through 3 again, and then we'd time skip again. Like, I want progression in the series. Like, I know we got it with kind of X when they jumped. That was its own new story. And then 11 was a weird kind of hybrid of past, present. But, like, I want character growth. I want to move forward. I don't want to continually do 1 through 3 and so on and so forth on a loop. Like, if we're rebooting again, which is fine because we need to get away from 9X and 11, what that story told, you got to reboot to get away from all that at this point, based on what they set up. But like, I want a complete divergence in the timeline, so we're not just reliving the events like 1 through 3, then 4, then Deadly Alliance and Deception. Like, for the love of God, please just take us in a completely 70-degree difference and land somewhere completely new. And that's where I'm like anti-Combat Kids to a degree, is just because maybe not even just 12, but also 13, whatever, 14 if we get to that point, whatever. But like, I don't know, when you time jump that far ahead to where they're in existence and they're old, old enough, and they're in their late teens or early 20s or whatever they were in X, you're just that big of a time skip. Just really, I don't think helps. Like, I want to.
No, it's they're bound to like fuck up.
Well, that's
connecting the dots and making it make sense, because they have to explain, what did Liu change? What didn't he change? How did history go in the parts we see off screen?
Yeah.
And whenever they have stuff happen off screen and they have to explain it later, the continuity never makes sense. And I've said that several podcasts in a row now. I say the same thing.
I don't want to go through an entire trilogy of like Liu Kang and the Raiden role where it's like, what did he fuck up? Like, no, how about we just go like where Liu resets the timeline and then we just live in that timeline and it's all completely new, different, divergent, nothing's the same anymore, and we go in a completely different direction with the series, where it's not like, what's different about MK1? What's different about MK2? It's like MK1 and MK2 don't necessarily exist in this world. It's something else completely different that
the thing is,
you have to deal with.
If I see Liu Kang selling his friends' souls, I retire from gaming.
Right, I'm not saying he has to make a bunch of mistakes like Raiden did, but some things in history have to be the same because they are the brand identity of, like, there has to be a Mortal Kombat tournament, otherwise why is the series called Mortal Kombat?
Brand recognition. I don't know.
What if once every generation they just get together to play Rock'em Sock'em Robots?
I don't know how they're going to do it.
You're making a value judgment. I'm not saying what I would prefer. Obviously, I would prefer something completely different from what we're getting. Sure. This is a prediction episode, and my prediction is that the game will be set during 1992-ish.
90s Johnny, here we come. But I mean, yeah. I just want, like, I want to know what happens to Cyrax for once. Like, I want to see him like make some progression beyond like what we've known about him for the last 20 years.
Does it mean anything if it's not the same Cyrax anyway? Like, what you want is to go back to the old timeline and start from Armageddon.
Well, I mean, there's that, but if it's a new Cyrax, like, or a new, I don't know, any Frost, Ashra, any character I like, Kenshi, like, if it's a new version of them and I still like this new version, as long as the character itself, like the character as I know him, where they're not like, now Cyrax is like, not like Rebirth standards where he's like a dentist somewhere, like, as long as it's not that crazy of a difference, like Dentist Barak or whatever stupid thing that was in Rebirth. Like, as long as we're not going that insane of a difference, but it's still like recognizably Cyrax, but maybe in this timeline he does things a little bit differently. I just want character growth. Like, I want to see him do new things and be able to experience new character moments and stuff like that I feel like you're not going to get if we're just repeating the same kind of story beats of like Shao Kahn invades, or this time it's, I don't know. You know what I mean? But it's your prediction. It's not like you said, it's not, you're not saying what we hope, but yeah. Just ready for something new, I guess. All right, Shad, you're number 3, sir.
I actually don't care whether we get Dentist or Dr. Baraka anymore. I've said this in prior episodes. I'm so tired of seeing them try to retell the same old story that I'd rather have something completely and totally new. I don't care if we get like the lady version of Night Wolf or whatever. As long as the characters are vaguely recognizable as themselves, I think I'm cool.
Yeah, it's like you said, Ashra is Raiden's best friend this time for some reason. It's like, okay, that's freaking weird, but as long as you tell this character she's still, somewhat recognizable as Ashra to some degree, and whatever story they tell in this new world is actually decent, then I'll be willing to hear it out. That was my only kind of hope, I guess. But
I mean, I was gonna predict the fact that we're going to like have another complete and total reboot, but that's really playing it. I feel like that's like
that's a given.
It doesn't even count. So I'll play it a little bit riskier, and I'll say that this time we are going to have some form of actual conquest mode. I do believe that MK11's crypt was, in effect, kind of a test run for that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that they're quite prepared to see Street Fighter leave them in the dust as far as that goes. So yeah, I think that's maybe it'll even center around the Great Kung Lao. Maybe we'll play as that guy and punch
cool.
people in the balls, and it'll be wonderful. That's my prediction.
Do you think? Because I know this has been discussed in the community, like they couldn't have responded to Street Fighter's like announcement a year ago and built that entire mode in that time frame, right? That Ed Boon has even gone on record recently saying that's something they would have had to have planned years in advance. So do you think they just already in their minds had it set out that Conquest was coming?
I think that they've wanted to come back to it for a really long time.
Ed has certainly made it sound like on Twitter for a very long time that he's wanted to do something Conquest-y again.
Right.
He's missed it. He knows we've all missed it. I think this
and there's like the engine of 11's crypt is already 75% of the way there.
Yeah.
All that thing needed was a narrative, man. Yeah. I feel like it was a test run completely.
You can even hit stuff. Like you use a hammer, but you still attack things, and occasionally reptile or a ghost.
Alrighty. Temp.
So mine is almost redundant at this point. My prediction, my number 3, is that both my first and second favorite characters will be in this game, which is Smoke and Li Mei. And I don't have a prediction, believe it or not, on Li Mei. I say I'm worried they're going to mess her up. And to me, mess her up means they reinvent her personality or her backstory. Or they attach some sort of gimmick. Will they do that? I think she is the most vulnerable to that. I don't see the... I don't think we're going to get Lin Kuei's cybernetic Havoc. I don't think we're going to get anything like that.
Sure.
Havoc is pretty set in stone. Li Mei, as much as I love her, I don't think she's as boring as everyone says she is. But she does have the most ephemeral backstory as a girl who lives in Outworld. So I am terrified that if you take out all the Deadly Alliance story, they're going to take her story somewhere stupid. And they're going to make her design something even more stupid. So,
in
I think she'll be in the game, but yeah.
In MKX, when she was a cameo, she was still from Outworld, yes, as a refugee, and we don't really know whether she had fighting prowess. They didn't really touch upon any of that because just she's a small cameo, but and her design wasn't even like that far removed from what her design in the 3D era was. I mean, she's still wearing kind of similar colors and motifs of the...
Yeah, she looked okay. I think MKX Li Mei is acceptable. I do have problems with that design, but they're nitpicks. Like,
yeah, it was like just a small cameo before they even got good at modeling and stuff. So I mean,
yeah, if she looked like that in MK11, I would have had a real problem. But in the context of MKX, Li Mei was fine.
So what would be your big concern with her in terms of like, or I guess what's better to ask is, what are the elements that you are absolutely adamant that they keep, just out of curiosity?
All the Crouching Tiger stuff needs to be intact. So she needs to be agile. She needs to have really cool melee attacks.
What would you even else do with her other than that kind of stuff? That's where I'm like, I can't see them diverting too much unless, I guess the big concern is they don't feel she's interesting enough. So they're like, now she's got to have like a mech suit or some bullshit to be like this character archetype.
If MK12 comes out and Li Mei gets the mech suit, I'd be like, okay, we dodged a bullet. All right. To me, I just don't want her to be like, oh, she's a traitor, or oh, she's secretly the heir of the Dragon King or some bullshit like that. or she's just a dumbass character who just doesn't understand how things work. Like, what's a good example of that? Oh god, like they, even though I'm fairly like tolerant of MK11 Scarlet, oh my gosh, Scarlax, everyone's favorite Star Wars character.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I would not listen to Scarlax, Li Mei. Don't do that. Don't like make her some weird Shao Kahn orphan. I will kill myself. Do not fucking do that. Like these are just the things like off the top of my head. Like if I were to really like sit down, like if I was getting an oil change at like the Nissan dealership and just think about all the horrible things, all the stupid stuff they could do with their character. Yeah, man, just anything like Sindel is, I guess that's really where all this comes from, to be honest with you. I never really thought about it until now, but I think that's really what planted that seed was the MK11 Sindel stuff. And that I think is where my subconsciousness was just like, do I even want Li Mei back now? And it couldn't get Sindel right, and I want Li Mei back? Yeah, so I don't know. I think she's the most vulnerable because I guess to answer your original question, Cyborg, like I think they have no vision for Li Mei. I think they have no clue what they want to do with that girl. Havoc, I think they have a general idea of what they'd want to do with Havoc, and especially someone like Kenshi. And even Bo Right Cho, I think like Ed Boon and crew have a pretty defined image of who those characters are. I don't think they have any fucking clue who Li Mei is. I have a feeling Li Mei would look different in every single game. I think we'd get Nano Li Mei eventually. I just don't think there's any vision.
I have one counterpoint to that. So do you think from Deadly Alliance to Deception, they dramatically changed that character?
Vogel did not dramatically change that character, correct. But Vogel's gone, dude.
But I guess here's my point, though, is like she was brought back. She was one of the very, very select few that was actually brought back for a game. It was her. It was Kenshi.
Bo Right Cho.
And I'm not just talking about Deadly Alliance. I'm also talking about MK4 in this. Like MK4 to Deadly Alliance to Deception. Tanya was brought back. And I think that's it, right? Like no other characters that were introduced in MK4, MK Deadly Alliance, and well, we're not counting Deception because we're not counting Armageddon. But like, I mean, I guess we can count Deception because we can also consider who's been brought back so far for this era in the NRS era. Like she's in a very select few that was actually deemed like interesting enough or a character that they liked enough to even bring back for a game for a second appearance when 75% of the characters introduced during those years were not. They were just completely lost in time except for Armageddon, which they had to bring them back just because. Like judging from that alone, like that has to be worth something. And one thing I will say is on a more like positive silver lining, like glass half full type of thing, the characters that they have brought back, the Kenshis, the Bo Right Chos, the Tanyas, the Fujins, maybe not Frost. I know people have their problem with what they did with Frost, but like that aside, the 3D era characters that they've brought back, or MK4, Quan Chi as well, if you want to throw into that box, they were pretty like they paid a lot of homage to what came before with those characters. They didn't just scrap them completely and say, this is this character now for a lot of these characters. Like I said, Frost excluded. They pretty much stayed pretty within the lane of what that character was. Like Bo was very similar to his old self. Tanya, Kenshi, Fujin, especially. Like I've mentioned this plenty of times. Like I did not expect Crossbow Fujin to come back. Like I expected them to completely leave that away. Or even Sindel with their Naginata, like bringing that back out of nowhere for MK11. Like they still care about like you can tell there's still people on the design team that still want to pay homage to the older games to some fashion. They don't always hit everything out of the park. They definitely miss on some of the characters like a Cabal and so on. But like with the 3D era characters specifically, they still like to point back to where those characters came from design-wise and gameplay-wise for the little gameplay elements that they actually had back then, because a lot of those just only had like 2 special moves to go off of. So I just like taking what Li Mei is at her core, I feel like they wouldn't completely abandon that. Like maybe they'll elaborate on certain things in a good way or in a bad way. We don't know. But as far as like acrobatic, punchy, kicky, crouching tiger, hidden dragon, like that's all you do with that character. Like at least at its core, that's what she's got to be, just from a foundation standpoint and from Outworld. And she is this trained, common folk that trained to be a warrior from her small village in Outworld. Like, I don't know, man. I just don't see them. I don't think she's as vulnerable as you do, obviously. I think, like, I don't know. I just see that character getting a lot more, like, homage, love, and callbacks to kind of her original self. And yeah, she doesn't have, like, an entire, 7 games of history to draw from where it's like, okay, this character is completely established. Yeah, they're gonna take some liberties, and hopefully they stay true within that lane that they did with the others that are in her category.
So, there's a lot to respond to. There's a lot of layers here. I guess really the initial layer is that you can get everything right with the character, but if you get one major thing wrong, the end result is MK11 Sindel, right? You could argue Sindel was faithful in every other respect, but like all it takes is like you could get everything about Li Mei right, but then someone who only had a superficial understanding of the 3D era was like, oh, she's the lover of the Dragon King. We got to make her evil. That's all it would take. That's how thin and fragile their character design philosophy is. And so it wouldn't take a lot. And you know what? Like, if they get all her gameplay perfect, and I hate the story rendition of the character, I'm still not going to play her. Just like I think Sindel was actually, for the most part, okay gameplay wise in MK11. A lot of things I didn't like, but I
liked her gameplay. She was fine.
They got a lot of things correct.
I love the Banshee
story,
and the way she was. Yeah, I liked her
design. I think she looked good, honestly, when she's not like, Revenant. I thought the design, the model was very well done. But so that's one thing. As for, do they still care? I don't think they have a defined image of what they care about because Li Mei is so heavily, her story is just so drenched in the Deadly Alliance deception lore. If you take away the plot structure of Deadly Alliance deception, like there's not a lot left with Li Mei, so you got to rebuild the character almost from scratch. And I don't trust them to do that, because the reason why Frost was a cyborg was because they did not want 2 cryomancers. That's my guess, at least. I also think the reason why
I disagree with that.
Well, I don't know why else they thought we would want Frost to be. Well, I want to be careful because I don't want to go too down that rabbit hole because that could lead to a whole 15-minute conversation. Why was Frost a robot?
I don't feel like it was out of character what they did with her. So I think that was their driving factors. They thought this character would do this. Plus, we want a cyborg, so let's get our cyber Sub-Zero fetish out on Frost instead of regular Sub-Zero, since people were very against regular Sub-Zero. I think that had
something.
That had way more to do it, in my opinion, than them not being able to do 2 cryomancers, because they still gave her cryomancer abilities.
I mean, that takes us into the Shadowlands, right? Where it'd be very easy for someone to project their fetish onto Li Mei. I think that would be so easy. And like, fetishes don't just have to be sexual. They can also be any sort of weird ideological interest you can project on the Li Mei, because they're going to see that
fetish wasn't a good word for that. It's more like
a
concept.
Word,
it's a concept that they loved. They loved the idea of a Sub-Zero cyborg.
Well, so here's the thing: is that we saw what Li Mei would look like detached from all the story stuff she got involved in DA and Deception when she came back in X. And if DA and Deception don't happen to Li Mei, then she becomes the leader of her village.
Yeah,
which is a pretty respectable role.
Yeah, but I think they're gonna do. I think they're gonna do kung fu warrior of a village. I mean, there's so much to tell with her that I don't think it needs to be Dragon King lover slave, because I mean that wasn't what that wasn't like a willing character choice, right? That was she was mind controlled by Onaga or whatever.
Y'all are still at MKX though. Y'all aren't thinking MK11. MKX and MK11 are worlds apart. Like, these things are so distant from each other.
Right, but in general flavor, we see in her X version what NRS thinks of when they think of Li Mei, and it is
it's kind of like Serena too. Like, I mean, they clearly
like there's like a generic blurry picture of Lee May, and it's still pretty Lee May. Like, and if that's what we get when she comes back,
which will just be dialed up because she'll actually be a playable character.
The only question is because there is a difference like between 3D era Lee May and MKX Lee May, and it's her age. And that affects attitude. Like the Lee May in the 3D era, who all that bad stuff happened to, it happened because she was young and eager and naive. And the Lee May in MKX is an older, wiser leader of her people. So the comparison that I always draw is that the original Lee May was the young girl character in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and the Lee May in MKX is the older woman who fights that younger girl in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
I mean, I must reiterate, you guys are in 2015. You guys are talking about MKX Aaron Black. I'm talking about MK11 Aaron Black. We're not on the same page here.
No, but even with Aaron Black, like what they did to Aaron Black is what somebody like a casual who just sort of looked at a picture of Aaron Black and guessed what this character is would do. They saw, oh, he looks like he's some rando from Texas who's real into cowboy shit.
I looked at it as more like they liked the character, but they didn't have shit for him to do story.
Well, no, here's the thing: is there is two different characters because MKX Aaron Black is an actual Old West cowboy who, in the past, moved to Outworld, and that's why he's still alive. MK11 Aaron Black is a person who cosplays as a cowboy.
No, I agree with that.
I can see how they got there from looking at a picture. If you were a casual and didn't know Aaron Black and you saw a picture of MKX Aaron Black, you would go, okay, this dude looks like he, he's probably just some guy who, is in the Mortal Kombat universe and uses the fact that he's in the Mortal Kombat universe to indulge in this fantasy of being a cool Western cowboy dude. When you look if you approach Lee May from the same attitude of like, what would a casual think when they see this? Lee May looks like a girl from a wuxia movie. She looks like a Chinese martial artist.
Yeah, and like everything, everywhere, all at once, or whatever. The movie that won the Oscars.
Yeah, that's the same actress who plays the older lady in Crouching Tiger, Michelle
Yeoh. My point is that's insanely popular right now, obviously, and it's winning all these awards. Like, this is happening at the same time they are developing this game, mind you. This movie is, making such a big splash, and then obviously you have all those, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, all that stuff where she was originally inspired from. So it's like, I don't see them just like, we're gonna give her roller skates and a laser gun, like, I feel like they're going to want that character to be that archetype, because we have that archetype anywhere else in the series?
Well, it's not like the
not
points
from
are
a
stacking
female.
up,
We
guys.
have
Like, I can't respond to all of this. Like, there's been like 17 points. Like, I got to go in order. Like, if y'all keep talking, I can't respond to everything that's been said, but I hope we can at least agree that outside of outside of like the Deadly Alliance exception, she is at the very least a blank slate, even if she is an Outworld martial artist villager, right? Are we at least on that page that she is a blank slate?
Compared to a lot of the characters that we see, yes, she leaves a lot more room for interpretation, and creativity to build off that foundation, obviously, is where you get into potential,
I would argue that's all she is a foundation right now, outside of the Deadly Alliance context.
What are you in love with about this character?
There is a difference between an actual blank slate, though, and like someone who's just sort of ill-defined. Like an actual blank slate, a character we know nothing about would be if you tried to make Tazia from Special Forces into a character. You'd have to invent everything about her from the start. With Lee May, you're at least getting, okay, well, she's a villager from a place that kind of looks like ancient China, and she fights like she's from a 70s kung fu movie, and she generally leans good alignment.
I do have a response to that, but Shad, I want to give you a chance to chime in here.
And then we'll all shut the fuck up and then let Temp talk.
Yeah, and then I'll just
Go ahead,
vomit
Shad,
out
bro.
all my
And watch them completely eliminate the village aspect entirely. Fuck you. She starts exactly the way she did in MK Deception. She works for Shao Kahn for absolutely no given reason, like she did in Battle of the Realms. Keeps the wuxia aspects, has the punches, has the martial arts. They've forgotten everything else about her. They don't care. It's a new generation. It's a new timeline. Forget everything you know. That's what I'm predicting.
See, I had Battle of the Realms in my notes, but as the points kept stacking, I'm like, okay, we don't have time for Battle of the Realms anymore. We got to move on to that. We got to get to the next point. So my thing is that I see the writers in MK11 using Li Mei as their own personal project and projecting whatever sort of thing they find interesting onto Li Mei, not the other way around. I don't think they're going to be interested in Li Mei and say, how can we make this into a new story, new game, new atmosphere? They're going to be like, I have the freedom to project any sort of thing I want onto this character and make that my own project. Now, will they do that? I think it's at least a 50-50, right? I think there's
I say 75-25. 75-25, my friend.
75 on which direction?
That they're going to do whatever they want.
Do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's bad. I agree with you, and that's bad. That is what I'm saying. So this may not even be a real disagreement. I don't think anything you or Razor said were technically incorrect, but I just don't think we're agreeing on the risk assessment. I think that's where we're diverging.
Well, you gotta hold out some degree of hope.
I do have hope for some things, yeah.
I just don't think it's realistic to expect them to like radically change. Like she could have completely different moves, but as long as they still look like 70s kung fu movie Shaw Brothers wuxia moves.
Sounds like it's more of a story
they've gotten the flavor of the character when you. Well, here's the thing: if MK12 Li Mei starts the game as a villain, but there's like a storyline reason, like, well, in this history, Shao Kahn never became the emperor. Onaga's the emperor, and so some of the population of Outworld are loyal to him because, from their perspective, he's actually a good king. If Li Mei served him, I'd be like, yeah, okay.
I mean, that's one way to look at it. I mean, you can even go simpler than that. You can even get more basic and be like, they get everything right superficially, but the character is just unbearably annoying and grating. I mean, in sort of like an MK11 Sonya sort of way. That's equally a worry. I mean, they can get everything right except the dialogue.
Sure,
and the characters.
That's a worry with every single character. At any given time, they could cast a celebrity who can't fucking act for any one of these people.
But
we know that now,
though, right?
Who does Tommy Wiseau voice?
So then my question,
Collector, obviously.
Then my question for you, Temp, is if we agree that there's not a whole lot of Li Mei to go off of, and she's a very basic character based on what's already established for her, then where is the extreme love for this character coming from? Because it sounds like you love a very distinct but super vague version of this character to begin with.
Oh, that's
that doesn't have a lot established. So that way it's like, it would be hard. I don't know. Like, it almost sounds like you want them to never bring her back just because you want only what was existing in Deadly Alliance.
No, not at all. Li Mei went through a very similar journey as Smoke. She is the recovering victim, right? So she is someone through no fault of her own went through the Deadly Alliance tournament and got fucked over hard. And up until the ending of Deception, she was climbing that ladder back with Bo' Right Cho to recovery. And she was using sort of that pain, that sort of like that infliction.
So that's the core of the character you want then. You want a character.
Well, it can't be now. But what I'm saying is you need to at least get sort of like the Outworld villager who doesn't do anything stupid. You have to at least get that. If they get that right, I think I'll be okay. I just think if you add even a little bit of imagination to this, they can do so much stupid stuff with this character. I mean, like I said, like Sindel was 90% accurate, except for that 10% which was the worst thing ever, right? Does that answer your question though? I mean, does that kind of hit what you were going for?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just trying to get brass tacks. Like, one, why are you concerned? And two, what is this version of the character that, like, what is it of the character that you absolutely don't want to see any wiggle room towards, because
I mean, don't make her evil. That's really a big thing.
Okay,
Like,
and
do not make her evil.
That's what I want to know. Like, that's the kind of curiosity I have, because it's like,
what if she is evil because, like, what happened to her in Deception, some version of that happens again, and then there's the recovery from being evil.
You need the recovery. Like, if that happens and she dies, like, yeah, that would be unfortunate.
I mean, the first part still has to happen, though, in order for like, what if the second part doesn't happen until the sequel?
I mean, God, we're talking about MK13 here.
Scene open.
I mean, this is who are Ray's parents kind of thing, right? Like, this gets into really gray territory. It just depends on what the implications are, right? It depends on how it's set up. Yeah, that's something I'd have to think about.
So it sounds to me
Scene opens. Li Mei is eating babies. Freeze frame. Record skip. You're probably wondering how I got here.
But it sounds to me like, so if it came down to it, like, you would rather. So this is the ultimate question. Then is, would you rather her stay in the past, or would you rather see those dice rolled, and see her potentially get an awesome design, and she's going to get probably, a gameplay renaissance for her, and she could make a ton of fans and become something super awesome. But there's also that possibility that, yeah, they take her in a direction that's not nearly as enjoyable. But what I want to say is, even if they did, she's still that character in Deadly Alliance / Deception, whatever. That's never going away. Like, even if they fuck her up here, you will always have Deadly Alliance Li Mei in that bottle that's never going to be taken from you. So that's where it's like, why wouldn't you want your favorite character to get another spin, another time around the block, to maybe they could go in an amazing direction? It's, I account it to this quick little video thing that I saw actually yesterday or today, where it's like, if I told you right now, don't think of an elephant, you're gonna you think of an elephant. Even if I tell you not to, you absolutely do, because that's just the way your brain works. Because your brain can't focus.
I mean, to be fair, I was thinking of an elephant before you said that, so that's
okay. Don't think of a tree. You're thinking of a tree.
I'm thinking of Rain's
I was thinking of an elephant in a tree, Cyborg. All right.
Yes, my point is, so skiers, when they ski down the hill, they don't say don't hit a tree, because if you say don't hit a tree, your mind's only going to focus on the trees. But if you say stay to the snow, stay to the path, you focus on the positive, what you're actually, the route you want to take, your mind will mentally be in such a more positive place. Whereas if you say don't hit a tree, you're likely going to hit a tree, because that's all you're looking at. Like, you're so focused on what they could fuck up and what they could botch with her, because of just, like, very, very few examples of what they have done recently to really just character assassination, basically, like Sindel, or I guess if you want to put Frost in that category. It's like, whereas all the other characters that they've actually done fairly well, which is a Fujin or a Bo or a Tanya, Kenshi, so on and so forth. Like, I don't know, man.
I disagree on 3 of those points, right? Some of them I agree on, but the first thing is you still have old Li Mei point. I would disagree with that. Those are just not. First of all, I could not, without going through emulation, I can't reasonably play those games anyway. But even if I could, those games are not competitively Scarlax viable. Those games don't really function on a modern level, so I don't even think we have old Li Mei. I don't know if I agree with that.
So then you have no Li Mei.
Well, I mean, if we have modern Li Mei and she's bad, that's point number 2, right? I don't think we have old Frost either, man. I think Cyborg Frost is a big deal. I think that did a lot of damage in terms of perceptions of the character, and it may take multiple games to get through that. Yeah.
I have to admit, I would like to not see Frost come back for a very long time now, and 11 has a lot to do with it.
I really don't give a shit. The character was never particularly interesting in Deadly Alliance to me.
And so now we're covering the gamut. I really liked her. Would I want her to be a cyborg when she comes back? Probably not, but I still enjoy this chapter, because that's all it is. It's just one chapter for the character.
Well, here's the thing, is that Frost exists to tell a specific story, and you yourself have said that you're tired of seeing the same story over and over again.
Yeah.
I am So as I am also acutely aware of things that happen in that fucking Onslaught mobile game, I happen to know that they again repeat the story of us watching Sub-Zero is training Frost and Frost turns on him for largely very petty childish reasons.
Yeah, she's been
And
down
I'm
the
just
same road.
like that's what she exists to do. Like Frost as a good guy isn't a story. Like it doesn't go anywhere.
Sure. Yeah.
Because when you first meet her, she is the student of Sub-Zero. If she doesn't turn on him, then she just continues to be the student of Sub-Zero. She would become a static background character that serves no purpose.
Well, I'll say this: there's characters that I'm into from a story perspective, and there's characters that I'm into from a design and gameplay perspective. Frost is a character that I'm into for design and gameplay perspective.
Right, but
I love cryomancy, and I just like the female cryomancer aesthetic. It was just really cool. That's the only thing I ever dug about her. It's not her personality or her story. There's nothing to like about her story, in my opinion.
I guess
the only thing the two versions of Frost, like Frost and Cyberfrost, have in common is short blue hair.
No, her personality.
They don't look. I mean, I find her personality is one of the major things I would like to take a long break from.
That's by design too.
To tell a specific story, I would say that she exists to be the Starscream, the treacherous mega bitch, and Sub-Zero's usually in the middle of that, sure, but like I don't particularly care how it comes across.
I don't dislike it. It's just we've now had it several times in a row, and I would like to take a break. Like a little of Frost goes a long way because she's a very very over the top personality, and I need a break from it.
Yeah, she's not on my short list of.
I do too, but not because I think 11 ruined her for me or anything. I just you don't need that character back every single game.
I mean, 11 definitely like. If the next time I see her, she has drill hands and her head comes off, I will say 11 ruined her.
And it will. Well, I don't think, maybe not the robot hands, right? But we brought up Sindel, we brought up Frost, but there's another character we haven't brought up yet, which I think is very relevant to the Li Mei conversation, and that's Cabal.
I brought up Cabal earlier, but
we don't have old Cabal. Old Cabal's gone. We only
we're having a conversation. It's fine. It's a very important conversation.
We are only like on some people's like third prediction, and we're spending a very long time on.
Also, Smoke is coming back. All right, I'm done.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still curious about this, so I guess we'll continue this offline.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Or we'll continue another episode so the fans can indulge in this.
So I think this is a conversation that's way overdue to figure out, to sift through all these emotions around Li Mei. Because I think this is
like trying to break into Temp's head, psychoanalyze him, break down the reasons he's out of love with Mortal Kombat, and bring him back into the
where Temp is coming from, because historically NRS has done a poor job with certain aspects of revisiting past things from past games.
And if Cabal's our metric, we're not going to get to go back.
Oh you're right. Cabal, the original MK3 Cabal is as gone as if he had never existed in the first place. We will never see it again.
There is no Cabal. Cabal is a state of mind. Cabal changes depending upon your perception.
He got his soul sucked.
It's an illusion.
All right. Well, which way do I have to get the magician to turn the mirror so that the Cabal I see is the one from Defenders of the Realm? How do I do that?
I think you spam them on Twitter repeatedly.
I just look at these as chapters
until you sound like a Melina fan.
I'm not that guy, and I don't think I could get other people to do it with me.
But no, I just
hashtag good boy Cabal.
I was just gonna say, I look at these as chapters. I don't look at these as forever versions of the characters. There's gonna be a new writer that comes along eventually anyways, that puts his own spin on all these characters that's different from this version, that may be closer to the classic, maybe closer to this one. Who knows? That's just the way the world goes. Things move on. Like, we're talking about 20 years since the Cabal that you guys knew, and that's 20 years is going to happen from now, where it's going to be a completely new Cabal in Lee May, and we're going to have this discussion about Frost, and well, maybe not we, but that's just the way franchises go, and especially in a case like this, where this isn't like, I just look at it as a chapter. It's a chapter in the character's story where it's like, yeah, maybe this time it's done well, maybe this time it's not done so well, but there's everybody's going to live to fight another day. I still think it's worth rolling those dice. Ultimately, where I was coming from, because it's still another chance for that character to get limelight in the public eye and to get that super sweet appearance. Maybe this is the most fun gameplay Mortal Kombat that we've ever had, and if they nail Lee May, then this is all a moot point. Now you just rejuvenated your love for this character, and well, not just the character, but this franchise, and it maybe will restore a bit of faith that you have, and maybe get you a bit more hyped and excited, and actually just really stoke those flames for Mortal Kombat again, where it's, you know, ruined you before or disappointed you before. And that's ultimately why I'm having this. It's not a psychoanalysis. It's I'm looking at the things that, why is Temp not in love with Mortal Kombat these days? And this kind of conversation dives into that. And that's the kind of stuff I'm fascinated by, because I want to know, ultimately, who knows from their end who's actually listening to this. Maybe, you know, maybe something makes it out in the ether and they actually nail the character based on what you want. Who knows?
Well, I do have more to say too. And honestly, like, I never even got through all my points. Like, I'm looking at a notepad right now, and I'm just, well, for now, I'll put a pin in it and I'll hand the baton to Shad for his number 3. But like I said, there's still a lot more to say here. Like, I can make an entire court case on why I don't want to see Lee May. But if she's back and she's good, fantastic. We'll see.
All right. Shad, number 4. Or actually, you snake around, Temp. It's your number 4.
Oh, damn. I wasn't. I feel like I've been talking forever. All right, cool. Number 4.
This was good content. I don't know why you're rushing it. This is
no. I mean, it is 12:30 at night for me. I can't be up till like all hours of the night. But I do want to say that I think that the way of you're looking at these characters as having different chapters of their lives is an extremely healthy and sane way to do it, because I can't keep hoping for the same story over and over the way I used to.
Right.
I would like the characters to remain who they are, even if some aspects of themselves change, if that makes any sense. And I try to keep in mind the fact that there was once a time, not so very long, well, I suppose very long ago now, when Batman shot people with a gun, and then he had magical adventures in space a couple of like decades later. Things change, times change, stories change, and
it'll continue on, probably even longer than any of us, and that's okay. And like I said, sometimes the chapters will love, sometimes they won't, but you won't get those chapters unless you're willing to roll those dice. That's all.
Just don't make it Baraka a doctor. That's all I ask.
But yeah, Temp, you're number 4, sir.
And
I will say one more caveat on that. Sorry, no, I'm not going to go back in the discussion. I want to say, though, to your point that you've made before, our best discussions on this podcast, the most interesting, are when we dive into disagreements, and that's all I was trying to do, is actually dive into this disagreement on this type of stuff and really dive into why people feel the way they do. And I thought 100%. That was probably the most interesting we've discussed in a long time.
I am curious if the comments are going to reflect that. I'm really excited to see what people are going to say about this conversation, because it's one that's probably been overdue for a while. Yeah. It's been hinted at so many times, right? It's the smoking man of like my Mortal Kombat interest, but still, my number 4 is not nearly like that deep, but it's almost as bad. My number 4 is that D'Vorah is going to be more annoying and grating than she's ever been in Mortal Kombat 12.
Jeez. Oh, man.
And I believe that to my bones. So, yeah.
You know, I'll take Frost back for another game at this point over another game with D'Vorah being shoved.
Right. Oh.
And I like Bug Lady.
I like D'Vorah as well.
I will take Robot Arms Frost over anything like D'Vorah related at this point. Man.
All right. D'Vorah back on the menu, killing everyone's favorite characters. Got it. So you said she's going to be even more annoying in MK12?
Yeah, and her motivation is going to be even more boring than it was in the last 2 games.
Gotcha. All right. Shad, you're number 4, sir.
Okay, break out the hate hats. We're going on record here saying this is probably going to be a reboot and things are going to be very different. They're going to lean into doing things as hard as they can and differently otherwise. I think we are not going to have Kuai Liang as the main Sub-Zero. I think it is going to be the Behind.
Interesting. That's fascinating.
I mean, it could be for any number of given reasons. Maybe this time, I mean, who knows? I have a hard time thinking of a notion of a series with Scorpion as not being a dead guy, but maybe, I don't know. Maybe this time Kuai Liang's the one who dies first and Bi-Han's out to like avenge his younger brother or something.
I think of all the predictions so far, this one is the most predictionist. I don't think it's the most controversial, but like that's interesting. Like that's a call for sure.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you're gonna tell a story and with the aim to make it as different as you possibly can, I try to keep in mind the fact that yes, we all look as Kuai Liang as the Sub-Zero, and we always have, and to some degree probably always will. But there was a time when the Sub-Zero was just a mental, you know? When Mythologies came out, I was like, oh, cool, it's the other one, the first one. Neat. Let's get to know him a little bit better. And I still appreciate the game for that, for giving him beyond some kind of identity as Sub-Zero. It's still a mental to me. Kuai Liang is Sub-Zero to me, but Sub-Zero is still a mental to me. It's both things are true if that makes any kind of sense. And I know, Razor, that you especially have absolutely no interest in seeing a redemptive Bi-Han storyline. And no, I don't want him to like turn into a good guy, but at the point of Mythologies, assuming that that is still canon, which I actually highly doubt, but we had a guy who was kind of debating the pros and cons of continuing his life as an assassin. As we all know, he done fucked up and made the wrong choice. But what if you get a game where that guy keeps the mantle? What if you see him like, I don't know about reform, but maybe learn that there are better ways? Maybe become a cold ally?
I see what
I
you did there.
I don't know if that would mean like Kuai Liang is Noob Saibot or what have you. I really don't. I want to feel that we're better than just pulling the whole, Sub is a robot and Smoke's alive this time through.
Yeah,
if they do something like this, I'd like it to not be predictable and I'd like it to count in some way.
Here's the thing.
Hang on. My gut's telling me that they're going to do Bi-Han as the main sub this time.
So, as a prediction, you could very well be right. It's certainly one of the more likely things a person would change if they were writing a fanfic where somebody is changing things. Yeah,
all I'm saying.
Scenarios.
That's all I'm saying.
The problem for me, the reason I've always been against it is A, if Bi-Han doesn't die, you either don't get the Noob Saibot moveset and aesthetic, or B, Kuai Liang can't make sense as Noob Saibot because you only become Noob Saibot if you go to hell when you die, and you only go to hell when you die if you're a bad person. And Kuai Liang being a bad person is changing a personality, and that's the fundamental thing you don't want from your what-ifs. You don't want them to just completely change the fucking character, like, then it's not the same character.
No, I agree. Like, but that's why I'm making the point that I can't see Kuai Liang as Noob Saibot. It doesn't work.
Right.
Maybe if you make a Noob Saibot into a mantle, that can be bestowed upon someone who is evil and dies and goes to hell. But how do you use that kind of character into that narrative? I don't know.
A lot of Noob Saibot's moves and abilities and personality and like just the character concept is so heavily based on the fact that he is Bi-Han now. Like, he has foot slides in his moves.
I mean, sure, they've adapted things from his sub days, but there were two separate games where he was Noob Saibot, and there was nary a trace of that to be found. Just
look, I could go one game without Noob on the roster. We did that in X.
Yeah, we did.
I can't go an entire universe without Noob Saibot or with somebody else, cosplaying as Noob, because that's what it would be. It'd be a fucking costume. It would
Easy,
be
Tiger.
I am willing to entertain a brief experiment of what if Bihan doesn't die, as long as brief is what it is, as long as we still get the real Noob Saibot in a sequel. And also the game has to explain where Kuai Liang is if Bihan's going to be the Sub-Zero for the whole game. And it has to make sense.
Alrighty. Number 4. So number 4 for Razor then.
Okay. My fourth prediction is that the end boss will be Onaga. And the reason I'm predicting that is because we have just had a great deal in a row of Shao Kahn and Shinnok.
Yeah, it's a bit Shao Kahn fatigue.
And we just had a new boss in the previous game, and I don't like I said, I don't think we'll see many, if at all, new characters introduced in this game, and that includes villains. I think it's going to be a returning villain, and the only returning villain that we haven't had shoved down our throats recently is the Dragon King. Also, It fits with the whole idea of if you put yourself in the shoes of God Liu Kang, and you imagine what would I do? What would my what if scenarios be? How would I change history in order to benefit my friends and have a safer, more peaceful universe? I would prevent Shao Kahn from coming into power. And if you do that, Onaga is still alive.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just overdue as well. If you're going to give the 3D era more love, you can't do that without Onaga. So,
yeah,
makes sense.
It would certainly be weird if you did it without Onaga.
Yeah.
Alrighty. My number 4 is... I'm thinking the game's going to feature 16 DLC characters. Sounds like a lot, but MK11, well, I've talked about before how they've always ramped it up. They went from 2 to 4 to 6 to 9 to 12, which was rumored to be 15, not 12, because they were going to support MK11 for longer with one more pack, but allegedly got cut off early due to COVID and all that going on. So if we were going to get 15 in MK11 because they were going to support it for a few more months, then I could easily see them squeezing out 16. So 16 DLC characters, especially since Ed Boon's already said that they're going to support this even longer. Granted, that could just be a few more months. It doesn't mean necessarily years, but regardless, I'm thinking 16 DLC characters. It could be 4 packs of 4, or they could break it up a little bit differently. I'm going to even go a little bit more granular, and I'm going to say we're going to get more MK characters this time than we're going to get guests. I don't think it's going to be 50-50 like it mostly has been. With MK11, how many guests was it? I think it was less guests than MK characters, right? We had 5 guest characters out of the 12. Is anybody? So we had Rambo, we had Spawn, we had Terminator, we had Joker, RoboCop. So 5, right? That's all of them. So 5 of the 12. I
guess it was.
So yeah, we turned the corner on half, which we got in MKX. So only 5 being guests. I say only, obviously, just because it could definitely be only 2 or only none. But more realistically, I was always thinking it was going to be half. So we got less than half of them being guests. So I'm hoping they continue that trend at least. And if we get 16, I'm hoping 10 of those are MK characters. At least. I would love even more, but that's my prediction is it's going to be 10 MK characters, 6 guests for a total of 16. And I would not be surprised if instead of packs, we see them delivered maybe in like battle pass seasons. So instead of like the typical, here's a pack of 4 characters or 3 characters, almost like what we could do or like what Multiversus does, or even like other games with battle passes and stuff. I don't remember how like KI or any, you guys could probably speak on that, but like if we did like battle pass seasons, if they're doing a new battle pass every 2 or 3 months, you could have characters tied to each pass. So it's like maybe 2 characters put out in each pass. So we're getting more of a steady stream of DLC characters. Hence, maybe we get like 16. So yeah, overall, I'm thinking like mid 40s for the total select screen, all things said and done. Granted, nothing gets in their way that cuts them short again. But yeah, so ultimately, my prediction, just at its core, is 16 DLC characters, 10 MK, 6 guests. So that's my number 4. Number 5. When the game is all said and done, it will be regarded amongst the community as the best Mortal Kombat game purely from a roster and gameplay standpoint, but will probably still be criticized for story and like grind and live service elements. But just from like its core, the thing that they absolutely will keep us playing, hopefully, the roster and the gameplay standpoint, I'm going to go on record as predicting that it will be regarded as the best Mortal Kombat game. Just from a community standpoint, not personal, like we've talked about before in terms of like nostalgia and how that plays a factor. You can't account for that. But just from a like, what is the most fun Mortal Kombat game with the best roster and it's super fun gameplay and it keeps us playing for years, I think this is going to be the new kind of MK9 is a better way to put it. I think it's going to be that new, much better than X and 11 in a sense.
That was my prediction for MK11 because I really thought that after MKX, all they had to do was just flip flop sort of the worst case scenarios, like the 50-50s and whatnot, and the movement, and they did that, but I couldn't predict what they were going to add on top of that, right? So maybe, I mean, I'm open-minded to this. It'd be great. Yeah,
so
we'll see though.
Some of my logic going into it is if they're looking to fix the perception of the 3D era hate, and they load up the roster with that, and we get a better roster from the base, and then we can get a better roster through DLC with more MK characters. I could easily see the roster being truly amazing. That set aside, then we go to the gameplay. Along the same logic of what you were thinking last time with MK11 is kind of how I'm thinking they're doing it this time, is because there's been more than ever a real like vocal group saying what MK11 did was not, like gameplay wise, it was no bueno. Like they took some steps in a direction that they shouldn't have, and I think they know it this time. I think they know it, and if we're getting rid of variations, and like I said, people like Maximilian Dude speaking out anti MK11 in terms of the gameplay and so on and so forth, and a lot of other people in the FGC and just the community at large, definitely it seems like MK11 got a lot more negativity than MKX did in terms of how the gameplay, the core of the gameplay elements were, and just some of the other elements in general with the game, honestly. So I think more than ever, I want to believe that with MK11, like you were thinking that was going to be their apology step or their fixing, they're stepping in the right direction. What it clearly ended up being was with MKX, they went into MK11 thinking that they made the right step, but I think they were being stubborn about it. I think they were stubbornly going the direction, and now they got kind of that slap on the wrist feedback of like, oh, you guys don't like that, and this is why you didn't like it. You didn't like it for X, Y, and Z. Okay, we're going to go back to MK9 and MKX and see what worked with them and make more of like a hybrid of those games, see what you guys really enjoyed. And then when you look at it from a total package perspective, I just think this is going to be the next MK9 in a sense of it's going to be the next one that's held in like an actually high regard. Ultimately is my point here. Not without its flaws, but it's going to be the next major like top 3 MK games, so on type of argument.
I hope so. The only thing that has a serious chance of impairing that is the live service stuff, I think.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping with like the Suicide Squad backlash that they've already been like, oh, maybe we don't do whatever live service elements we were going to plan or follow this trend any longer with all these games starting to die out that have followed this. I'm hoping, if anything, that's been a wake-up call to maybe dial it back. And they still have time. They've got months left in the game and, patches beyond that after the fact that I'm hoping they don't go too hard into the paint. Hopefully they're spending whatever remaining time they have on the game to dial it back as much as possible. Cuz some are perfectly fine. We can get away with some live servicey things and still have a game that we ultimately enjoy playing. It's not going to kill the game on its own, but yeah, I'm hoping that there's at least some backtracking on that.
I would also add one thing they could do that would have really helped MK11 that is absolutely necessary if they want MK12 to be the best MK is they need to do something about consistent top tiers. If a character is ridiculous on day one and stays ridiculous throughout the life of the game, that is not acceptable, and that will disqualify it from any candidacy of being the best Mortal Kombat immediately if they do that, no matter how good the gameplay is. So that's really important.
You know that the characters in 11 that happened with were not fixed for fucking political reasons.
Obviously.
That's what happened.
Like, even down to the Joker. There's no question. And although I really thought you were going to say, you love unique New York. I can't even say it.
You love unique New York. We all do.
But yeah, no, it's just they would not fix the top tiers down to Liu Kang, to Jackie, to Joker. I mean, I'll even put Cetrion in that category. Like, just, man, ridiculous characters from day one. Just, you can't do that again. If they do it again, that'll be the third time the fourth time if you count Alien. No, don't do that shit anymore. We need to be past that for sure.
And I'm hoping if they support it for longer, they don't leave us hanging on like that final patch that could have fixed everything, like you've always talked about with MKX and MK11 and MK9 to a degree. So I'm really hoping. I think it's ultimately just I hope I have hope. And I gotta hold on to that hope, is that this is that apology game. This is that game where they gotta fix perceptions. Not just with the 3D era characters, but they gotta fix perceptions that they are a studio that just abandons their game after a year and a half of marketing, post-release of, support, and then they just like, deuces, we're out. I gotta hope that, this is likely gonna be it for Mortal Kombat for several years if they do Injustice or they try new IPs. So they got to support their Mortal Kombat game for a while. I hope this is their okay, guys, we're not going to be stubborn anymore. We hear you. We hear your complaints. We've heard about Conquest. We've heard about Tag Team. We've heard about 3D era representation. We've heard about XYZ, the gameplay elements. We're ditching variations. We're ditching this. We're going to go back to 9 and X and so on and so forth. Like that's what I want this game to be, is like, really take the feedback that you've gotten. I hope this is that final. Like I said, we say it every iteration, I'm sure, and it's proven that we've said this, but like this has got to be the one, because I feel like so many people I've heard this is nut up or shut up. Basically, this is you bring forth an amazing Mortal Kombat game, or strike three, you're out, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm worried. Not that the franchise is going to go down, in flames or anything. Obviously, that's not going to happen for any of it. But just like, you want to fix perceptions, this is how you fix perceptions. So I'm predicting this is going to be the one. Plus, it's the start of a new trilogy. Start off strong, MK9, so on and so forth. Maybe not story-wise, but at least if they can nail roster and gameplay. And just the core game itself, the modes and all that, like make it a really fun game to play. Then that itself goes a long way. But that's my number 5.
That's about all you can really hope for.
Yeah.
Is that it's considered one of the best ones.
Yeah. So when I say the best, I don't mean necessarily the best of the best, because like I said, we can't compete with nostalgia. And that's obviously a very subjective term, best. But ultimately where I'm going with that is it's going to be up there with the MK9s, the UMK3s, the Deceptions, etc. The ones that are in high regard as the best of the series. It's got to be in contention. One. Yeah, it's got to be in contention.
Just decent, but very good. Memorable.
Yep, definitely. It's got to be it's got to be arguably up in consideration one of the best of the series. Okay, that's my number 5. Razor, what do you
got? My last one. I know there's been some discussion about like whether I'd said this or not on Twitter already before, but I feel like it's still kind of a long shot. But I'm gonna put it out there anyway. I am officially predicting that gameplay-wise, we will see a back-to-basics approach of characters only having one moveset and no variation type mechanics.
Yeah,
like I said, I feel like that's basically confirmed at this point.
Safe and accurate, and I agree.
All right, Shad, your last one.
I do, in fact, believe that they are going to try very hard to make this the makeup game, to really go all in. They've certainly had enough time. And I think that a part of that might constitute bringing back some of the good old classic MK spirit. I think we're going to get a secret character fight.
That's interesting.
Now, it might just be Reptile all over again. My gut tells me that, assuming we're rebooting, assuming we're seeing a tournament again, probably lay good odds that we have a pit. Where there's a pit, there's a full moon. Where there's a full moon, there's hopefully an entirely new generation of salty people who can't get a double flawless without blocking. That's what I'm hoping.
Now, do you hope that secret character ultimately becomes like DLC, or do you want them truly to be unplayable?
Oh God, I can't ask for that
life cycle.
I think I've said here in the past that like my ideal scenario is to just shove a character in the game code with like no visible identification, that like hackers can't find a name. Some sort of magic, as if I know how that shit like works in depth. My ideal scenario would be to be able to fight a character like that in the game files, who is later put up as DLC. So no one complains that like, oh yeah, the characters, I can't play them, I can't be competitive with them. Where are my parents? I just, I'm so sick of people bitching, Just
I mean, there's the other side of that is like, what on disc DLC for real? Like, I'm not in that camp, right? But that I mean, yeah, it's a sensitive scenario, right? But
I don't care about what the FGC or the competitive community wants. Throw in a broken ass secret character, either an old one like Reptile or Smoke or Noob Saibot, or ideally, I mean, for me, a brand new one that you just surprise everyone with, and a couple of like a month or two down the line, wham, you can pay $10 to play as them and lure them, whatever. I want to go hunting for shit. I want to make the effort to try to have a secret fight with a ridiculously overpowered thing that kicks my ass the way that I used to all the time. And I think that they're going to make it happen again. They made it happen in 9. I'd like to see them be more creative about it, rather than just, recycle the entire original way to fight, like him and Jade and Smoke all over again. But I think they're going to do it. Don't know how, but I think they're going to do it.
Cool.
That is one thing I think was sorely missing from X and 11. They were games without secrets. They made you think there might be secrets running around in there, but they weren't. Not really. The closest thing we really got, I'd say, in all of 11 was like that little secret code that you could input in the towers when the meteor went by to get specific fights. It was a far cry away from being a real huge secret now, wasn't it? So that's my prediction. Secret character fight of some kind.
Cool. All right, Temp, close us out.
All right, this one's not terribly controversial, but I think there's good evidence for it now. I believe the gameplay for MK12 is going to be a factory retuning of MKX's gameplay. hopefully without all the things we don't like about MKX. But my basis for this is that when Ed Boon was asked what his favorite Mortal Kombat game of the new generation was, he did not say MK11. He said MKX. Now, that does not tell me that MKX is his favorite modern game. That tells me that he was not happy, or at least I don't believe he was happy with the way or the state that MK11 ended up in, right? And I mean, you don't even have to do too much like detective work to get there. The idea that the game launched and there was immediate uproar over the lack of custom accessibility, that he probably didn't love that. That probably was not his favorite thing in the world, right? And just the game, just pretty much from the beginning, was just kind of drenched in this, like, why isn't this available? Why doesn't this work? What's up with these hitboxes? So when they did ask, like, well, if MKX is your favorite, what did you think of MK11? His response was, time will tell. And I don't think it takes a lot of detective work to know what that really means. So I think they're going to look at not only what Ed Boon's favorite MKX was, but, and I say this unironically, I do not say this as a joke, they're going to look at what Maximilian's favorite Mortal Kombat was. Because Maximilian, love it or hate it, I think there's pros and cons. They take him very seriously in the industry. The Final Fantasy VII Remake guys showed a video of Max's reaction in the dev office. Maximilian is a big deal. You don't piss him off unless you do it at your peril, right?
He's a true influencer. I mean, that's such a dirty word, but like he is an actual like influencer in the community.
Yeah. He influences things 100%. And also people know he's genuine. That's one of the best things about Maximilian. He doesn't bullshit. He says when he doesn't like something, which is why like he's the guy who declined a Fortnite stream. And they asked him to do it, and he said no. And then when he finally decided to do it, it's because they added Ripley to the game, and he's a huge Aliens fan.
He turned down something about MK11, I think, and gave it to Kenny instead. Like, because Kenny needed he's got a much smaller channel or whatever, and he's obviously close friends with the Yo Video Games and all that. So like, he's part of that group. So you know what I'm talking about, right? Unruly.
Oh, 100%. And the sincerity of Max is comprised of two things. One is I think he's a genuinely good dude who loves fighting games. It was there in the classic days of Third Strike. But the other thing is that he's rich. And he doesn't really have to bullshit anybody anymore. And he's allowed to say whatever he wants. Yeah. He can say, I don't think Street Fighter V is a very good game a year after Street Fighter V comes out. He can decline the Fortnite sponsorship. He can say that MK11 was all right after he got invited to an exclusivity event. That's the power of Max. So I don't know. Now, I'm not saying Ed Boon is like checking his YouTube and looking at his new videos and like, okay, what does Max want us to do today? Sure. No, I don't think that's happening. But I think they take Max seriously. And if Boon likes MKX and Max likes MKX, it's not hard to predict that there's going to be a return of some of the best parts of MKX and MK12. What's up?
Well, I was just going to say, he did put out a video after MK11 was officially confirmed, or at least the WBCO guy, when he dropped it. The mention. So Max put out a video saying that it's happening, and he did list his concerns, basically what you're saying exactly. He said he explained what he did like about 11, what he didn't like about 11, mainly the gameplay, and hopes that they go more towards a MKX. He actually said what his preference would be is he hopes for the title it's actually going to be MKX2, like 12, like Roman numerals, MKX2.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, he explained that. So yeah, I mean, I'm on board. MKX's gameplay was never the concern for me. It was always obviously my personal disappointments on roster picks and just the whole desaturation, like hell, like of everything. So as long as you get the colors and a great roster, then the gameplay elements I don't have a problem with, and especially if you ditch variations.
I'm just gonna go on record as saying that I hate neutral jump punch as a bouncing mechanic. It just looks so stupid. I could do with everything apart from that.
Well, it's funny because the reason why MKX is the way it is because the guys in the NRS building didn't like jab dashes. They didn't like jab juggles. So that's why they limited combos so much. They didn't think the MK9 combos looked good. They thought they looked jank. So I have a feeling that won't.
They do look jank. They were right.
But they're fun, right?
I mean, I didn't do that Johnny Cage jab shit.
I still do that Johnny Cage jab shit. I love that shit.
I think it looks jank.
You're in good company, right?
That jab shit has dated back to 2 in trilogy, and I'm gonna be a grumpy old man and say I like my jank.
I'm gonna say
get your hands off my jank.
The fun supersedes how much like what it looks like. So I think if you're having fun, that's the most important.
You have to that this goes back to like ever since like I was a teenager, the thing that I've wanted is a fighting game that looks like a fight scene in a kung fu movie.
Yeah, that's
so I don't really
happen,
like all the juggle physics stuff. I
understand where you're coming from.
I wish there was more of like.
What are you clicking exactly?
I wish 2 people could do like a combo at each other, and it would like look like an exchange in a film where 2 people are like slapping each other's hands away as they're both trying to,
I feel like that's more Tekken.
A string and yeah. I wish there was a way
to do that. Jab dash as well, though. Yeah.
I wish there was a game that had a mechanic like that, where like if sort of like in some games, if 2 guys hit the attack button at the same time, they will clash against each other and bounce off. Like if you could do an entire string of counters to someone because 2 people's strings came out at the same time, that would be my ideal fighting game. Or I guess the equivalent of that is like a round of Killer Instinct.
Kind of comes to mind too.
Well, no, I'm thinking of like a round of Killer Instinct where both fighters keep doing breakers, and like everybody repeatedly nails their breakers and is really good at it. It kind of starts to look like a real martial arts movie choreography scene.
Temp, you were saying with Max though. Like, continue on. You're on a pretty good rant there.
That pretty much covers it. I think if we have to have someone on top of the summit in the FGC influencer community, I'm pretty glad it's Max. Because even though my favorite content creator in history is always going to be Eris, I don't know if Eris is, the sort of like commander-in-chief you want for the FGC. But I think Eris is also very intelligent when it comes to these matters. And he was also like, I'll never forget when Eris said that after I closed the MK11 stream, when I first streamed the game, I was so unbelievably depressed. And the next day, I couldn't believe Mortal Kombat 11 was the way it was. So that counts. Now, Eris has a history with NRS because, well, let's just say Eris called him out publicly years before anyone else did, right? Ed Boon tweeted, like, why is Kratos not tournament selectable? And Eris made a video saying, how the fuck do you not know that? How do you not know that?
He's a PlayStation exclusive, right?
Ed Boon was not aware.
Ed Boon wasn't aware Kratos was only... Oh, gotcha.
No, he was. He wasn't aware that the fact that only half the community could lab him was a problem. And that's why he was tournament banned. He could not foresee that. And Eris was like, what is wrong with you people? And remember, Eris played MK9. He was the best smoke player in the world in 2011. He likes the game now. He even likes MKX quite a bit. There's another point for MKX's return. But yeah, just, and also like often Sanchez, what's his name? Oh my God.
On NRS's team?
Yeah. Oh my God. I can't remember his name anymore.
Hector Sanchez?
Hector Sanchez. Yeah.
He's no longer with them, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He used to go to the MK9 tournament. What's up?
There's also a Herman Sanchez.
Yeah, well, Hector would go to the MK9 tournaments and be on commentary, and that meant that he had to do commentary with Eris, and Eris was like, "Man, your game sucks." So like, there is a narrative that has formed over the FGC influence, right? So I think that, again, like if you want a commander-in-chief, Maximilian is not the worst person to have. I still have a lot of love for Max, even though I disagree with him on so many things. So yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of MKX make its way back into MK12, but I don't think that's gonna be true aesthetically. That's gonna be a gameplay thing.
Yep. Cool.
Yep, and that covers my fifth.
Alrighty. Do we want to just quickly recap all 5 of ours? from each of us, and then we'll wrap up and get the heck out of here. So I'll
I'm
just blow
just
through
saying.
mine real quick.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So I had at least 5 non-debuted 3D characters on the base roster, and closer to 10 total 3D era characters, including previously brought back ones. The game is going to return to 3D fighting. Just kidding. Tag team will be in the game, either on release and later in a big update. You're probably like, what the fuck are you talking about? I made that joke last time. Tag team will be in the game either on release or added later. Number 3 is Lee May will be playable, done super well, and Temple will rediscover his love for Mortal Kombat. Number 4, the game will feature 16 DLC characters, 10 MK, 6 guests. And number 5, when the game is all said and done, it will be regarded as one of the best Mortal Kombat games, at least from a roster and gameplay standpoint. Razor?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Just quickly rattle off your 5, like sum them up.
Oh, it was no variations.
Yep.
Onaga will be the boss.
Yep.
Fuck, what did I say before
that? If you don't have a list, that's fine.
I was deleting it as I went down.
Gotcha.
Control Z, brother. Control Z.
It's fine. If you don't have it readily available, it's not a big deal. It's in the episode. It's just more for
no. Okay, wait. It was no new characters except maybe Great Kung Lao.
Yeah.
Fucking.
It's fine.
I know Naga's in there somewhere.
You already said that.
I said
so you've got 3 of the 5 so far.
No variations.
No variations.
There's something about it. We'll move on. We'll move on.
Did you predict a guest, perhaps?
I did not predict a guest.
It's fine. This isn't that important. We don't need
maybe I'll remember him. Maybe I'll remember.
Shad, go ahead and do your 5.
All right, I said 4, maximum 5 MK4 3D era characters on the base roster, including Reiko.
Yep.
John McClane is a fucking guest for some stupid reason. Keep in mind, these are just things that I'm predicting, not things that I necessarily want in this case.
Sure.
There will be some manner of conquest mode. Bihan will be the main Sub-Zero. And there will be a secret character fight.
Cool. Temp?
Breakaway will either be removed completely or replaced by something that is not Breakaway. McGrady will be a guest character. Lee May will return and potentially be the worst thing ever. Also, Smoke exists. Let's see. Oh, that's my troll answer. Devora will be Devora. And the number 1 is that MK12 will be a gameplay factory retuning of MKX.
Okay. Razor, did you remember yours?
Yes, I remember now. Okay, so it was Cyber Smoke will be in the game.
That's right.
No new characters except maybe Great Kung Lao, and 8 3D era characters.
That's right. Yep.
It'll be set during the MK1-ish era, not during Great Kung Lao's or Cassie Cage's.
Right.
Onaga will be the boss, and there will be no variations. Those were my 5.
Cool. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this long discussion on some predictions for MK12, as well as a recap of our old predictions. And hopefully Mortal Kombat 12 will be revealed soon in April or May, I would imagine. Now we're in April as you're listening to this. So yeah, we're getting close, and any day now it could be revealed. But on that note, thanks everybody for tuning in. Once again, check out the description for our Discord. Come join our community. We're constantly talking Mortal Kombat, all of us, and we cover the gamut on like everything. So, and as well as past Mortal Kombats. So yeah, and more and just general stuff. So we'd love to have you as part of our community. So check that out. Like the video if you haven't already, and subscribe. Stick around for a while because putting out content every week. And yeah, thanks especially for tuning in. This is where everybody says goodbye. This is the part where you fall down.
See you later, nerds.
Farewell, fellow smoke aficionados.
Those were $500 glasses.
Sorry.
You guys got to get catchphrases, man. It's all. I'm the only one who knows what we're fucking doing.
No, I got a catchphrase. It's up.
You need
Yeah.
You need a closing one, yeah.
I don't know, man. I put everything. I put all my points into sub, dude. I don't got any creative juices left.
I don't know what to run with apart from my depressing tendencies to allude towards suicide or being Canadian. And I don't feel like highlighting either of those things on a regular basis.
Right, Canadians a lot to work with. I mean, you guys have Rush.
All this being said, take care, everybody.
Oh, are we still recording? Damn.